Welcome to Tiger Talks Wrestling. This is your host, Tony. And today I've got a very special guest who introduces himself way better than anybody else ever could.
Welcome to CJE, that is Cameron Jackson Entertainment, your number one stop in entertainment for your backyard wrestling fix. I am, of course, your founder, your chairman, your CEO, your GOT, the brother man with the master plan, Brother Cam. Tony, thanks for having me. Let's do this thing, brother.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Been trying to get you on for a little while now. So, first thing I want to delve into, since it's fresh in everybody's mind, is what was your opinion on that promo that D'Lo Smith just posted on YouTube?
Oh, I don't want to start off by talking all negative, but I'm going to say it was a nice try. I'm going to say the point I can understand what he was trying to make, but D'Lo, he's no Brother Cam, and I don't think that the intensity or the video itself matched up to what I originally put out. So until he tries and succeeds, I'll just be sitting here waiting to talk again.
Fair enough. We had a couple questions before the show started that I want to get into before the chat room gets going and lose those questions. Have to go back for them. J Joker Design asked a couple questions here. He wants to know, what do you believe should set someone apart from one another?
What do I believe should set someone apart from one another? It's the little things, man. Like, it's things like the way people walk to the ring, the way people pause in between moves, the way people, some people, I've seen like Dustin Reagan does a thing where he kicks his leg up sometimes. I don't know if people realize it, but that makes his wrestling to me look just a little bit smoother for some odd reason. So like there's little things to set you aside from people. The way people can emphasize things when they talk, the way some people can scream a whole promo and sound entertaining. There's some people that can whisper a whole promo and sound just as entertaining. Small things set you apart. It's not I don't think it's any big thing. I mean, obviously there's looks, there's, moves and stuff, but it's really the little things that make people say, wow, only he does it that way, because the little things come natural.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely say for some people you can tell they have some of those moves or mannerisms of them that differentiate from other stars.
Yeah, little small idiosyncrasies like that, man. Those things are cool to look for. Like a cool thing that always struck me about The Rock when growing up is he doesn't turn his head like anybody else. He doesn't turn his head slow. He snaps his head back all the time and looks around like somebody's feeling on his back or some shit like that. So that's a small thing that he does that stood out to me. Like, Kane don't walk like a normal human being. He walks and digs his shoulders down every time he takes a step,
Right. Just those little things that you catch them, then that makes them quite a difference.
Yeah.
For sure. His other question, J Joker Design's other question was, who makes your logos? Is he with the CJE as well?
Who makes my logos? Oh man, what a jerk. J Joker Designs, the one and only, makes my logos. He's made every single CJE logo there is. Actually, he made a logo so cool one time that the good people over at Earth Safe decided to make a custom title out of it for me. So J Joker Design makes my logos, and it's I'm very thankful that he does. And yes, there's always a spot for him in the CJE family.
Fair enough. All right. I knew that would come up at some point. King Dominator's asking what your thought was on the whole Trey Danger promo and stuff that's going on that he's trying to call you out with.
I mean, I think it was pretty self-explanatory if you watch the video I put out. But okay, we can say that. All right, let's be real. No, none of us are going to be doing this forever. Okay, there's some of us that'll move on and become, professionals and do things like some of us already have. And You know, there's some that will never wrestle again after their last match. And people take for granted that how hard people in my generation worked to get where we are. It's not like necessarily, yeah, we're all good friends and buddies and got a family type bond behind the scenes, but we all put in some hard work somewhere or another, whether we laugh at each other, whether sometimes we don't like each other, sometimes we hate each other. We all can respect the fact that we put in that hard work because we've all seen it and have been through the same thing. And most of us are putting in that hard work together. So when somebody who tries to step up on a fame, so to speak, and I use quotations because, you know, try to step on fame, so to speak. When somebody tries to step up on fame, I don't think that they realize what I've done for just the wonderful people that view me and decide to look up to me, and you know, which I'm very grateful for. I don't think they realize what I've done, and not to mention, there's so much more to do for myself and for many others. So, like, if Trey Danger wants to be in my target, I think I've earned the right to say, okay, I need to face that guy and I don't need to face that guy. I don't need to face somebody who's going to get on Twitter and just beg for the popularity. I would like to face somebody who busts their ass and catches my eye because, well, one, they probably thought of something that I never thought of, or they caught my eye to the fact and wowed me to the fact that I say, you know what, I got to make history with this person. So Trey Danger doesn't fall in any of those categories besides people that piss me off. And the people that piss me off really just get pushed aside. And when you get pushed so far aside, you realize that not only I don't like you, but there's probably going to be a whole army of people who just can't stand you. And not because I don't like you, but because they realize that, hey, if you're going to be that much of a jerk to Cam and he has this, that, the third, how much of a jerk are you going to be to everybody else? And not that I'm a leader or nothing like that. I'm just saying people realize it's like monkey see, monkey do. We know what happens. One person starts it, and there's 45 other people with no name, no talent, no gimmick coming up calling people out. And it's just a waste of time. And it's a big slap in the face to people that work real hard and should get the chance to call people like myself and Zach Daniels and the rest of the VTW roster and these current working talents around our community today out. So I just wish Trey Danger would, for lack of better words, go fuck himself.
Right. Well, off of that, I will. You did have a question that I will ask. When Trey Danger let us know why you and Mike are hiding and running from greatness, as he put it.
Tony, did you say something? I don't really speak irrelevancy. So let's go forward.
We shall. And off of that, I'll get back to the comments here real quick. DBW's in the chat room, says they're hoping to see you back in DBW again. Looking forward to working with BTW.
That's awesome.
Judgment would be honored to take your soul.
Oh, yeah, Judgment. Yeah, you know, you could also take a couple of dollars and give me some gas money, too. 16.
Right. There you go. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I know we got Everett last night, half Cam tonight. People, well, a person anyway, saying doing a good job, so appreciate that. But let me get into my questions here real quick now, since they're getting a little bit lower on questions. Let's start with your backyard wrestling origins. What first got you involved in backyard?
Oh man, if we can go so far back. You know, the pre-YouTube thing was, you know, just a bunch of us and me and my cousins wrestling outside, man. And, you know, I was never the biggest guy, so I always had to be one of the smaller guys on TV at the time. So I got the prestigious role of being X-Pac every time we wrestled. Man, it was that just stuff like that. When I watched wrestling, man, it just felt like nothing else in the world really mattered. And it was just something I loved from day one and now. And then, you know, fast forward all the years and we hit YouTube, there was the UWE. And that's how most people got to know me, was the UWE. And I think at that time, that was before our crossover era, because there was a few crossovers going on before all that, but there was way before our huge crossover era, where it's like a yearly thing to meet up at certain events. And man, that stuff was just it was fun. It was fun to be somebody else, because no matter how bad Cameron Jackson was doing when the camera was off, when CJE hit the camera, everything was gravy, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep, I understand you. Who would you say were some of your influences in your early part of your career?
Oh man,
pro
wrestling wise, man, it's a long list. I can name almost every wrestler that I've ever watched, besides a couple. I talk about the ones I hate more than the ones I love, because there's so few that I hate. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've taken interest to a lot of wrestlers. Like, little things that they do set me aside. Like, The Rock and Ric Flair are my two favorites of all time. They're like tied at that number one spot. I mean, I don't rank, but they're tied at that number one spot if I did. And then, everybody who's anybody is a fan of The Undertaker. I don't know how you couldn't be. And then when I started to learn a little bit more of the actual wrestling side of it, Shawn Michaels and, dare I say, Dean Malenko and, the Rabid Wolverine, so I don't say the wrong names here, became some of my favorites. And, just a long list. I dug Booker T a lot. I dug Goldust. I was a huge Farouk mark, Ron Simmons. I love the APA. Love the Dudley Boys. I just loved all of it. X-Pac was one of my favorites growing up too, which is why I didn't have too much of a problem ever really being a short guy and learning to do certain moves.
Yeah, I'm sure it had to help quite a bit.
Now, ones I hate, Lex Luger. I don't know what his purpose was in wrestling. I don't get it. And when somebody can point it out, what one thing he did that was useful to the business, I'd like to see it.
I was a little bit of a fan of his at times, but
I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're a fan, that's awesome. Am I a fan? Hell no. I mean, he's done nothing that was original. The only original thing he had was the Lex Express, which, eventually, I dug the torture rack. I'll give him that. The torture rack I dug. But other than that, I mean, and the man couldn't draw to save his life. But anyways.
Anywho, let's delve into your UWE career just a little bit. I want to talk about a couple feuds that you had there. Obviously, the first one that we really seen on YouTube was you and Everett Creed. Was one of the first big ones. What was it like working with Everett?
At that time, see, here's the thing. Like, when we got on YouTube, we've done so much before that, that people didn't see. So, like, for us, like, working with guys like Everett, Ricky, TJ, Somas, even, that was like a usual thing, because before we didn't really have a large roster. For a long time, it really was just myself, Everett, Ricky, and TJ. And then Somas came in the mix and blah, blah, blah. And even before that, before I was in the mix, it was just Everett, Ricky, and TJ. So, but like I said, those guys, working with Everett was always something new, because you get 110% of what, of his effort in building what you wanted to do. Now, in the ring, was he the most gifted performer? Hell no. And when he tried to talk spots, he was telling novels in your ear. You'd swear. I remember one time we were wrestling, and at that time on the trampoline, and he tells me, "I'm going to give you a code breaker. I need you to fly over the fence." I said, "What the fuck?" I was like, "What?" And I guess I'm the one to blame, because my stupid ass tried to do it. But obviously it didn't work out that way. But no, he's a phenomenal storyteller, and he loves to focus on the story and stuff. Sometimes so much that it gets a little annoying, and it makes the show look like it revolves around him. But I don't think that's on purpose. Well, no, I do think it's on purpose, but I don't think that's something you can blame the man for being that far into it and being really invested. But working with Everett was always fun to an extent until you know he'd get his ego going and saying some things and oh boy. For the trampoline era, we did very well.
Yeah,
That's the best way to say it.
all right. The next feud that that you were part of that I wanted to touch on was it was pretty much the first big feud that we've seen. The Dirty Boys actually had a feud with you and TJ. Kind of brief feud, but it was still there.
Yo, that
what
was
it like working with
the Dirties?
What was it like working with them? Yeah.
Yo, check this out. Okay. Well, let's backtrack a little bit. All right. So wait,
Go back a little bit.
The UWE one in general. The first big thing for the UWE, which is very instrumental in my success, I guess, so to speak, was the Abomination 2014, where me and Rick went 1-on-1, and that was when I was going ham in that feud. I was talking about his dead uncle, this, that, the third, and then we did the match, which lasted all of 15 seconds. Because I hit him with the trash can. The lid was on the side, and we did pour fake blood, but we moved the hair out the way, and we realized it was a real live gash in his head. Right. That was what got us on the map, and it was a big part in myself and Rick Rios' building. Now we fast forward with that. We went to All Out Survival, which was Everett, well, against myself. Right. We were trying to use the steam from the Rick thing, me and Rick thing, to where Everett, against my opinion, Everett wanted to turn me babyface because I was heel against Rick. But at the time, we didn't really have fans, so they didn't know. So when they first started viewing in, they looked at me as the good guy anyway. So I guess in that case, it all worked out, and Everett was the bad guy. And bam, we started going forward. Match happened. People dug that CJE won and stuck around. It was awesome. Now we go into Ultimate Redemption, which was the Dirty Boys. All right, now with the All Out Survival thing, TJ Sakara, I believe, got fired or had to quit or some shit like that. Something where he was going to leave the UWE. And I walked out and I said, no. I was like, you can leave the UWE, but I'm going to sign you to CJE. The gimmick is a self-made, self-run, self-owned company. Okay, at the time, and now it's molded into a few different things, but you know. So we think of, you know, all the while I was explaining all that. Now, with all that that's been going on in the timeline, my idea originally in the beginning of the UWE is to bring in a tag team, not necessarily a tag team division, but a tag team. Reason why is because from all the BYW that I've seen some tag teams, but none were legitimate tag teams. You know what I mean?
Yep, I understand.
And Antonio and Dave wanted to become a part of what we do. So I came up with this thing because we lived in Long Island. So I'm thinking, what's one thing you don't see in Long Island? Rednecks. So I pitched in the idea of being Dirty DeChico and Dirty Dave, and they went along with it. Antonio was a little skeptical at first. So with that being the case, we said, all right, well, this is what it's going to turn into. Ultimate Redemption, me and TJ versus you guys. They're like, all right, we'll see if it works. And it fucking worked. That was so much fun, that feud, because TJ is one of those guys where he doesn't get the credit that he rightfully deserves. TJ was a big part. I can pretty much say, and with all due respect to everybody else, in the beginning of the CJE thing, that it wouldn't have become more of a must-see and must-watch thing if I didn't have TJ there in the beginning of it. And the reason why is because TJ made up for everything that I lacked at that time. And he was always down to do anything. He was thinking of stuff for me to do, and he would willingly want to sit on the sidelines so I can do them. Now, like,
Right.
TJ is tall as hell. I'm short, so it worked out already. Now,
Yeah.
I was becoming a much more smash mouth promo guy at the time, and I was really starting to intertwine with comedy. So TJ was able to be the big man and to bring me down to size if need be. And now here's the both of us petty. I was very, very petty at the time, and TJ was he was in the serious but yet lovable type of guy. Now you put us up against the Dirty Boys, Dirty the Chico and Dirty Dave, who couldn't find Long Island on the map. These rednecks. Oh man, the fun we had building that thing. I remember there's one promo we had where we're going back and forth, and they were saying all these mean insults, and then it's like the small petty one's the one that made us almost brawl. Like I remember the Chico says, "Yeah, your hair looks stupid," and then I went after him, and we almost brawled out. It was like, just stupid stuff like that. But then the feud definitely started to turn more serious as they ran me over with the pickup truck.
Yep.
We had a lot of fun doing that stuff, and they really helped me stand out as CJE, and TJ there the whole time helped out a lot. And then when it came to the match, I think that was the Chico's first real sight right there, because the Chico, Dave, unfortunately, tore his, I think it was ACL in the match. He was going for his boot, and he went down, and that was bad. So we cut the camera, made sure he was all right. He limped off into the side, and we had to finish the match because we're halfway through. It's our first ever Ultimate Redemption going up on YouTube on this channel. So we're like, damn, we got to finish it. And we're going to keep the same finish. Just Antonio's going to do it by himself. And he did, and he looked awesome doing it. Yeah, was it a 5-star match? Hell no. But I think it told an awesome story. It was a cool moment for the Dirty Boys. And that's the biggest thing that stood out to it about me, is working with them. It didn't really do anything. It didn't make me happy if it did something for me. It made me happy if it did something for the Chico and Dave, and it did at the time. So it was a fun time, memory us four share, and nobody will know what we were all feeling that day, because at the time, Ultimate Redemption is we all love each other, but it's a real competitive type of season, because Everett's trying to make his match look the best. Rick's trying to make his match look the best, and rightfully so. So, it was something us four shared, because people were kind of saying already that it's going to be a clusterfuck and blah, blah, blah. And then I think it went a lot smoother than people expected. So working with them, a plus. I wish I had more chances.
Do you think we would have seen more of CJE versus the Dirty Boys if Steve wouldn't have got injured in that match?
I believe so, because the reactions from just Dirty winning were awesome, and our wrestling at the time was horrible. So I think we would have, if Dave never went down. But it's hard to, like, hindsight's 2020 though. Like, if I look back, I could have, if Dave didn't get injured, I could say I could do this, could have done that. But, and no disrespect to Dave, it sucks he got hurt, but just check this out. Had he not got injured, I don't think that Antonio, Dirty the Chico, would have had the rise that he did and would have gained the respect he did. And like I said, they were fun to work with. So Antonio already was, getting brownie points from all of us. So, and he just deserves everything he got. So I think that, yes, if Dave got injured, we would have worked more together. But the fact that he did get injured definitely was a sad thing, but it turned out to be one of the better things for the career, for the character of Dirty the Chico. And it is what it is on that one.
So I want to get your opinion on, it wasn't really a long time, I don't think, after that TJ ended up pretty much turning on you and ending the partnership of CJE.
Oh, boy.
Seen quite a feud between the two of you out of that one.
I think that was one of my underrated feuds. Me and TJ, we love to face each other because nobody wants to see us face each other. In the UWE, people used to hate
Right.
when somebody, because before we hit YouTube, me and TJ did this thing where we wrestle every time we showed up there, we'd wrestle each other. So once YouTube hit, nobody really wanted to see me versus TJ. Well, in the UWE, the fans didn't know. So like already we were kind of getting the the shit canned from Everett, and Ricky was cool with it. A couple people were cool with it, but Everett wasn't feeling it because he's seen it so many times, and for that I couldn't blame him. But I think it was more underrated for the fact that at the time it was the match people wanted to see the most, and the WWE didn't push it that way. You know what I mean? And I'm just telling the truth. I'm not trying to make enemies here, but that's just the way it was at the time. So it was a must-see thing, and working with TJ was fun. It always is fun, and all I could say is that the way he turned, I don't like where it went, but at the time I got to realize my mindset was much different. Like, we had this big idea for this faction called the Board, and obviously a ripoff of the Authority at the time, and supposed to be Everett, Rick Rios, TJ, and Mikey Butendero. Now, there was some more ideas with it, but we halted on it and we just did our thing. But then people didn't show up at the right times. The Board was really only together once on screen or twice on screen, so it kind of went
like that. Yeah.
So it went down the shitter pretty fast. I mean, I wish that they were all on screen together, because we could the stuff we had planned was just gold. But we couldn't pull any of it off if we only had 3 out of 4 members or 2 out of 4 members, or if TJ had to do something else and Ricky had to do something else. We couldn't make them come out if Everett was doing something with me, because then it takes away from other people. That's why we really needed Mikey, but Mikey couldn't show up all the time, and it just went kersplat.
Yeah. So, other thing I want to mention, I believe it was 3 years in a row at Abomination that you actually faced Rick Rios.
Yes. Now, those were some of my fun. Those were fun. Me and Rick Rios, the Abomination is just our show. No matter what people say, no matter what people have tried to push as the main event, Abomination has always been the show where you wanted to see Cameron Jackson versus Rick Rios. Yeah, it's very predictable that the match is going to happen, but I think we did it differently each time. Like the first time was the the trash can lid thing, and that was supposed to be, believe it or not, a ladder match. Then Rick Rios got busted open. Next week later, he returns, wins the title from me. Awesome. The second time, the second time, if people actually gear up and pay attention, the second time was I believe that was 2016, right? Or was it 2015? I don't know. Fuck it.
2015.
Oh, well, either way. The second time was right after a heel turn. And that was the only heel turn that I've had, and it lasted for as long as it did. I don't remember, years. But that was right after a heel turn. That was a Gremlin City street fight. I think that match was almost an hour long, right? I don't know. It was a long match, but people were invested from start to finish the whole time, and that was just very humbling to me, and made me feel very, very good about what me and Rick did, because it was comedy. I was getting my ass kicked the whole time. It was comedy, and I loved it. I know there's a piece of Rick that really loves kicking my ass, so that was cool. And then the third one, which I believe was the final one, as far as Abomination goes. And that was the ladder match, and that was where I finally got my W over Ricky to keep my UWE contract. Now, at the time that worked out, the story worked out really, really well, because I was on BEW, and a lot of people, I had already let the cat out the bag about the backstage heat in the UWE, which was true, because some of them weren't too fond of me going to BEW, and then they were talking about changing their name to I think people have said it by now, NUW, and the U stood for Underground. So they thought that I told them to change their name to Underground, which I had absolutely nothing to do with. So that was just a big heat thing. And, you know, once it died down, me and Rick decided to kind of, make the match for my contract because they thought I was for sure going to leave. Now, it worked out well because the heel turn, the REF thing, awesome stuff all around the boards. And I dug it. And it was cool that Rick was very willing. He did the Weed Eater thing, and that was also the start of Black and White because we realized that me and Rick couldn't face each other again at Abomination the next year.
Right. So, might not have lasted, but what was it like, the difference between Black and White, and then, of course, FTC was around the same time that we seen form?
Yeah, all right. So check this out. Black and White formed at Ultimate Redemption, which was myself and REF, and he helped me win the title for the third time. Yes, that'll be the third time. So we were thinking of ways to just piss people off because I was trying to do things I hadn't done before. People were so used to me talking that everything I did they liked. So I had to think of new ways for them to get mad at me. And it was very easy to get the people, you know, the boys, the wrestlers mad at me, but it was hard to get the viewers mad at me. And so when REF, which yes, Black and White was REF's idea, he came to me and he said, "Hey, if we do this, you know, I'll do the blind ref thing. We'll build up for it, and then it'll turn out that I'm actually on your side." And we did it. You know, the first couple times the blind ref show up, people laughed because it was just out of nowhere. And then when the blind ref showed up again, you know, I'm pretty sure the wrestlers kind of got it. It kind of snapped in their heads at the time, like, "Oh shit, it's about to go down, or something's about to go down." So Lobos TJ helps me win the belt. 1, 2, 3. We go on as, you know, Black and White. Instead of being from Gremlin City, I'm from Malibu, California now. We party all the time, you know, all that stuff, good stuff. Now, I figured in Everett, I never once asked for a world heavyweight title, but Everett pitched that one on me, and I was so glad to take it because there was some new things. I was trying to think of new ways to retain the title without actually, you know, winning. Which, I mean, I won, but I didn't, you know, really defeat my opponent. So now REF was so instrumental in that because it took time. It allowed myself not to have to talk all the time. He was there. He could do the talking. I could just go in there and be a jerk, move around, cause some hell, and be on my way. And that was so smooth for me because it was the first time I got to really just sit back and, you know, chill out while somebody else was, you know, getting the heat. And that's why they call it a heater. It hit me. You know, REF was probably one of my favorite heaters I've ever had. And it was so cool. And now you fast forward to around Best in the Arts season, you know, the FTC forms. That, to me, held a more special place because we knew that, you know, the boys in the back were going to hate it. And that's what we wanted. Because if they liked it, then they wouldn't believe it. If they liked it, then fans would like it. But if the boys in the back hated it, and then fans knew that the boys in the back hated it, they'd believe us more. The FTC was meant to restore the theory that you boo the bad guys and you cheer the good guys. That's what we wanted to do, and I think we successfully did it. Because when I turned heel, me and Mike were half and half, and we got so much heat, it was unbelievable. And we had people really hating us, and, you know, we're getting death threats via DM and stuff. So it was awesome. And and the FTC, you know, that took it to a whole other level because having Drew in the mix, which Drew was always in the talks with us the whole time. So it wasn't like there was anything new. But it was just on screen. It was our little backstage clique that people accused us of backstage booking all the time and this, that, the third. And it was the three biggest names from, at that point, the three biggest companies doing their thing. And, you know, we all had a tight-knit brotherhood. So the fact that we can go on screen and just act like we do in private on screen was awesome. And that's just something that holds a special place in my heart. Now, they were very, very different because the FTC was still a thing before Rick Rios joined Black and White. You know what I mean? Once Rick Rios joined Black and White, then I had to, as myself, I had to be two different people. I had to be UWE's CJE, and I had to be everywhere else's CJE. And then with BEW in the mix, I had to be BEW's CJE, UWE's CJE, and then, well, I'm going to say predominantly at that point, VTW's CJE. So with that being the case, they both held a different type of special vibe, because with me and Rick, we used to hang out all the time. We've shared a lot. He's helped me out a lot in life. Same, goes back and forth. But for us to actually get the chance to team up on screen, and for him to actually just cut loose and get to, be the badass, be serious, be stupid, be funny. I think he really liked that. And it was cool for me to see him grow as a competitor, which he's one of the best in our little craft here. So it's definitely a cool experience. They differed because FTC was straight up in your face. We wanted the heat. We weren't going to share it with anybody. We didn't care if we stepped on toes, didn't care if we pissed anybody off, didn't care if you loved us or hated us. We just wanted to get our point across, and that was, we wanted you to boo us, and that was it. If you booed us, you were in good graces. If you didn't boo us, then we did whatever we could to make you boo us, and it succeeded.
Right.
With
pretty well, yeah.
Black and White, I think the marks decided they were really going to like Black and White after they seen the stuff that we were doing. It was just funny, and we had a blast. It was cool.
Okay. Get a little more into UWE, but King Dominator just asked if you still miss Matthew Radcliffe.
Oh, I'm not gonna talk bad about the deceased. If that is the case.
I don't think he was asking for anything bad for it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all gonna miss how avid of a fan he was. Yeah, like the thing about Matthew is, like, I think a lot of us felt regret when he passed away, because, well, one, and it's no secret, a lot of us would make fun of Matthew. And a lot of us would make jokes and talk smack about Matthew. And all the while, no, don't get me wrong, Matthew would talk some smack back now. But I think it really didn't accomplish much. It didn't make anybody feel any better about themselves, because now that person's gone and nobody had the chance to apologize and say thank you for being such a fan and watching all of us when nobody else would. So do I miss the guy? Of course, as I wouldn't want to see anybody go. I just don't. That's not a cool thing. And yes, rest in peace. Peace signs in the air for him.
Definitely. I kind of take this one a little bit myself here. Mikey Nitros in the chat room, and it's asking about having a match with you. To which I say, just go back and watch Cam's video he posted on his page last night.
Hey,
it'll give you your answer pretty much.
Mikey Nitro, we've been talking back and forth for a while. I think you're a cool guy. Even though I went off on part of you in my video, if you can come here, sure. Point blank. You can't come here, then I'm like a double shot of Novocaine. I ain't really feeling for you.
I know H2 was in earlier too and said he'd love to have you come here to Michigan at some point too. But
I'd love to come to Michigan, and but the only way I would have felt comfortable coming to Michigan is if I had my FTC brothers with me. The one chance I had to go to Michigan, unfortunately, earlier in that week, literally before Labor Day, my grandmother had passed away. God rest her soul. And she was a big, big, big part of my life, big influence on everything I did. So, of course, after the funeral and that weekend, it was like go wrestle, go get on a plane, spend money and wrestle, or go hang out with Drew, Kev, and Mike and take a much needed vacation to Alabama, and that's exactly what we did.
Right.
It was just something that we really needed to do, or I really needed to do, and it let me feel like it made me come to terms with things, and I had a more peaceful, relaxing time that way. Do I regret not coming to the show? No, I don't regret not coming to the show. The reason why I don't regret it is because if I would have came to that show, I would have regret the fact that I was just at my grandmother's funeral and I haven't taken the time to grieve.
Right.
But if there's an opportunity where it all work out in the future, then very much so, I may just be there.
Fair enough. Casey James says, Cam, I'll gladly hand you gas money to come face me. Or to face you again.
Well, if he's got the gas money, I don't see why not.
Here you go. You mentioned it a couple times in here, so I figured I better mention it.
I dig. Hold on, wait. The one thing I dig about, well, there's a couple things I dig about Casey James, but my favorite thing about Casey James, is I got to see him evolve as well. See, people don't realize that. People think that, I'm one of the few, and I think one of the only, to have seen so many people go through so many different characters in person. Now, a lot of us have seen it on YouTube, but I've seen it in person. It's just cool to see that when somebody hits that stride, that sweet spot. And Casey James has found that sweet spot, and I'm very, very happy for him. And I love when that music hits and he's getting in his groove and he's like, "You can't break me down." I love that, man. That's just awesome to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think I enjoyed this version of his character, I guess you'd say, more so than definitely more so than the last one he had, Dagenron, and maybe a little bit more than Phoenix too.
Yeah, well, I think Phoenix, I think he was put in a position as Tim, the man, to where he felt like he needed to do something more with Phoenix, and he wasn't able to really have fun with it. That's what I personally think. I think that if he had, because when they were doing the ECW thing, which was the Fed that they were in up in Kingston, PA, before it changed to KWA,
right.
Every time I go up there, Tim was like, Tim and Bryce and Mama Bree were like all over the place, stressing this, that, the third, and they have had their internal issues. I'm not going to bring any of that up, but I think that it took away from a lot of fun that Tim could have, and a lot of fun that Bryce could have. And once they were able to kick back and not worry about such things, they were really able to excel. Like Victor Van Pelt, when he came to Best in the Art 3, man, I was honored to sit and watch that match with him and Kevin Shaw, because it was just like he was in his zone, man. There's nobody could touch him that day, and that was awesome. Yeah. When KC James is at DBW doing his thing, nobody can touch him, and that's awesome. So it's cool to see people hit that stride, and I just love seeing it, because I think the best thing a person in my position could do is give advice and see how far others take it. And not that it was my advice that got them to these characters, but I can say that I was there to see them mold into these characters.
Right. So was there any other feud that you'd like to talk about from your time in UWE that we did not touch on yet?
No. I guess the one that stands out to me, and I only bring up one. One that stands out to me, just two. One that stands out to me, though, as CJE was Revan. Very underrated and overlooked feud for the world title. I showed up to the match freaking drunk, and I think it got more people behind him, because at that time, that's when I was getting that real heat, and I was really drawing that heat. RAF was a good heater, and we were just doing our thing, and that's when I debuted the Green Mist too, and it made Revan look like a really, really, really good guy.
Yeah.
And that was the coolest thing about it, because I felt like for one of the first times in our little community that we literally turned somebody into a must-see person within a 2-hour stream.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say that was probably the first time that you really seen, I would say the best probably out of Ruffin at that point in time.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I said two. The other one,
Yep.
The other one, believe it or not, was fun for me. Was as Daisy, going into the Ultimate Redemption with Insanity, the most recent Ultimate Redemption with Insanity. And the only reason why that stands out to me is because, well, that's just in the UWE. The reason that stands out to me is because, we just didn't really feel like, well, I personally felt like every time I'd go through all this trouble putting that damn suit on, can't damn near breathing the thing, and when people really, really want it to succeed, and they won't take a chance on it. So I had my ill will about it, but then Insanity, TJ definitely made me feel like it was worth putting all that damn zombie shit on, and the wig and the dancing and Minister Sherwood. It was just a good time, and I think it was a good way to say sayonara to both characters.
Yeah. So, well, since you mentioned Daisy too, I will say had quite a few impressive matches in UWE, but not alone from that. You can't go without mentioning Daisy's match against Zach Daniels at Best in the Yard 1.
Yo, and could you believe they wouldn't book it on Best in the Yard 2? Daisy, no, there's no hard feelings about that. No, man. Yeah. Check this out. I've known Zach Daniels literally at that point. I personally knew Zach Daniels in person for about 12 hours. And the fact that we did that with really no talk time at all, no, not much talk time about it. We had a couple set things and we just did it, and that was awesome. It's a real I guess it shows how good Zach really is, and what we did for each other in that match, because we told a story, and I just don't know, it just clicked really, really fast, and that was awesome. But yeah, that was one of my personal favorite matches that I've ever done.
Yeah, I have said probably before, and we'll say it again, that in my opinion, that was the show stealer of Best in the Yard 1. So
a lot of people feel the same way, and it's, and I'm grateful for those people. I really appreciate it. It makes me feel appreciated for this crazy character, which I didn't feel much of, but I definitely felt appreciated, and I really do thank you for that. That means a hell of a lot to me and the person that played the character, of course. And Zach Daniels was just awesome. And like I said, it's 50-50, man. Zach Daniels had so much going for him. He sold everything with the face and the eyes and all that stuff, and it just clicked really, really well.
Yeah. And of course, can't take away, when you're talking about Best in the Yard 1, you were in the main event as well in a triple threat match. So.
Yeah, that was cool, man. That was at the time, it's like that whole weekend was like something like you wish never ended, but it didn't feel real until I was in the car going back home. So in the build up to it, it was originally supposed to be myself and Ecstatic. And, I don't think anybody really thought it was going to happen anyway. You know what I mean? So Ecstatic messaged me one day and goes, so let's see if Corey from was it APW? Yeah, it was APW at the time. Wants to be involved. And, you know, I don't think this whole fucking thing's going to happen at all either way. So I'm like, hey, Corey, we're going to do the best in the art thing. You want to be in the match with me and Ecstatic? Well, it wasn't even best in the art at the time. It was called something else. It was like super crossover extravaganza or some shit. I don't know.
Right.
And, you know, he's like, yeah, sure. So we talk about these travel plans. Now, the guys that are riding out with me, Everett Creed and Dirty the Chico, we have to stop in Altoona to pick Corey up. It did not feel like kind of real until we pulled up outside of Corey's house and we saw him walk out with a kendo stick in one hand and his back in the other. And I'm like, this motherfucker's nice, you know? I'm like, this backwoods Stanford and Son looking ass town, and this motherfucker walking out in a fucking goddamn Scully and fucking got a kendo stick in his hand. I'm like, man, where the fuck are we? And not to mention his house is on a fucking hill, like, you know, it's like this. That's how the street is. So my car, I got the e-brake up and it's still slowly going down the hill. So when he gets in the car, we're like, what the hell? And then we got down the best in the yard. You know, we did the FBW All Stars match, sorry, with Face Island versus the three other people. And it worked out awesome. No sleep, just did it, and we all had a blast. It felt like a family reunion, man. It really did. It just was such a good time. I truly did not think it was real. When I got back home, I woke up and I was like, man, I don't think any of that happened. And when, you know, I see the videos, I'm like, man, it really fucking happened. It was awesome. The triple threat match was special to me, and at the time, it was the biggest thing I had going for me. And I'm glad that I was fortunate enough to be thought of in that scenario. So, you know, Corey and Ecstatic, I say thank you.
So I got a couple from Mike, but any stories that you want to share from that weekend?
Oh boy. Oh, there's the infamous story where Drew went off on us.
Yep.
Well, first off, let me tell you the story. Let me tell you a story that we don't really get to tell, or I really don't get to tell. Is when, you know, it was almost time for Zach Daniels versus Danger to start, and I realized that I got a small purple morph suit, meaning I had to go get another one, and I asked to go to Party City. Now, mind you, I had driven probably about 13 hours down there because I had to stop in Altoona. There was no way I wanted to use more gas to go all the way to Party City. So Zach's like, yeah, I'll take you. He's like, I'll take, how far is Party City? He's like, 20 minutes. This motherfucker. We get in the goddamn car, right? And we get on the interstate, and I'm back. I got my arm out the window. And next thing you know, all of a sudden, I'm like this, and we're fucking flying down the interstate. Now, I wouldn't have taken Zach Daniels for the speeder, bro. This motherfucker was and going in that traffic, just, you know, we're blasting music and, you know, we're having a good time. We get there. I realized like 7 or 8 minutes has passed. I'm like, this motherfucker said it was 20 minutes away. Like, goddamn. So we get the morph suit and we're going back. Same thing. We go around all these turns, get on the fucking interstate. We get back. And it was the first thing Drew Hood says to me is, I thought you guys were going to be going like an hour. It's only been 25 minutes. Oh, damn. But it was insane. I mean, of course, there was Dos Amigos, where we all went out. We all had our first ever family dinner. It was awesome. That was a cool time, and, you know, Drew Hood doing Finn Balor all over the fucking restaurant. That was cool too. Then there was the night. We tried to sleep, and me and Mike were going back and forth, and everybody's starting to laugh. And mind you, I'm sharing a mattress with Zach. Okay. So I'm thinking Zach's like knocked out because he said he was tired. So me and Mike are going back and forth talking shit. So every time Mike would like, get quiet, I'd say something else. I'd be, you fat motherfucker. It's just something stupid, And
Yeah.
he'd get up, he'd walk over, give me an elbow drop, and walk back. And then, eventually the jokes started coming more and more, and I was like, at one point he came over and he gave me an elbow drop and he stubbed his toe or some shit. So he's like rolling the whole chair over. Now, mind you, Zach Daniels is laughing so hard that he's bouncing me off of the mattress. So every time Mike's coming down with the elbow, I'm meeting him about halfway in the fucking air. It hurts so damn bad. And then all out of nowhere, we hear the Penn and Teller, shut the fuck up. And then, Drew goes, go outside or some shit like that. And they're like, God damn. It was just great. It was a fun time, man. It was cool. That Best in the Yard one, that's going to hold a special place in all of our hearts because that's where we all met in person for the first time. That was my first crossover. And it definitely holds a special place. If not for that, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here, literally here right now.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I know where there is. So,
yeah.
But yeah. So the next event I want to touch on is WrestleCon from last year.
Oh shit.
Where you had a match, of course, in the main event with Jason Walker.
Oh boy. First off, let me put a disclaimer out there. Okay. Myself and Jason Walker. All right, let's put it this way. CJE and Jason Walker never see eye to eye, okay? As far as ideas and booking and shit like that. But Cameron Jackson and Charles Price are fucking great friends. We're like family. So it's so weird because I know that, I can argue and fight with this man so much when it comes down to wrestling. But when it comes down to everything else, I fucking love that guy, I think he's got an incredible mind. He's a genius at some things, man. And he works wonders with everything he does. And he's one of those people that if he really puts his mind to something, he can excel and beyond do great at whatever he wants to do in life.
Right.
But when it came down to WrestleCon, Cameron Jackson did not want to go under. Jason Walker did not want to go under. That was already an unhealthy scenario. Now, I think that we put on a great contest for what it was. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And that weekend was a fun time. I met Cage. I met AK. I seen Mike again, seen Zach again, seen Drew again.
Right.
I went down there with Ricky, Everett, and TJ. So it was a blast and dirty.
Yep.
Met Thomas Gray and seen Shavarticus again. It was awesome seeing Corey. But when it came to the actual match, I think we were both, me and Jason Walker, we were both appreciative of each other afterwards. But I think during, we were both trying to prove to each other personally that we, or that he or I deserved to go over that much more.
Right.
And that's a true competitive nature between us both. Do I think anything from it was bad? No. But I do think that had he been a little bit more open-minded, he could have definitely helped a brother out when it definitely needed to go into Best in the Yard 2. And maybe had I been a little bit more open-minded, I could have helped him out for whatever it is he planned to do with the streak. So 2 wrongs don't make a right. I do think it was a great show. The wedding segment was awesome, off the charts. Everything that went on the show was definitely must see. And my personal, my favorite things to look back and watch from that show are the opener, which is a triple threat match with Drew Hood, Thomas Gray, and Dirty DeChico.
Yep.
And Zach Daniels versus TJ Sakara. Because, and that was just the inner mark in me, because Best in the Yard 1 was supposed to be Zach Daniels versus TJ Sakara, but it didn't happen. So when it happened at WrestleCon, we were just marking out for no reason.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Do I have anything against Charles Jason Walker? No, I do not. I think at that time, though, we were both trying to gun for that number one spot, and it was just that competitive nature that we had, and it made for a lot of people who want to watch it. I just think, hindsight's 2020. I think it should have been a clear 1, 2, 3 winner. Now, whether it's me or him, that's up for discussion, but I do think it should have been a clear winner. But I can't be mad, because it did help spark things more between myself and Drew Hood going into Best in the Yard 2. So overall, I wasn't mad at all. I was glad that I got a good end of the deal, somewhat.
Yeah. So what was it like as Buford officiating that wedding at the beginning of the show?
I'm not Buford. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But from what Buford tells me, it was fun. It was something new that he didn't really get to do often, and he had a blast doing it with Joe Cool and Zelina or Lucius or Lips or Everett or whatever the hell they call him nowadays. But it was. I think it was a fun time, man. It was great. It was cool to see the looks that everybody would get, and just it was a very fun weekend, man. WrestleCon was a fun weekend. That was where the 16 started. There's a video that eventually I'm gonna wait till my retirement, and retirement from backyard wrestling, that is, to post it. But there's a video of something that we all did that last day on AK-47's Obey the Law speed limit sign. We were all dropping elbows and doing crazy stuff on that. So I'm gonna post that when the CJE days in BYW are over, just so people can see a cool memory. But that was awesome. We had a blast. That was a very fun time, and something that I would do all over again if I could.
So any stories from that weekend?
We were in the Dairy Queen.
Okay.
And we were causing so much hell. I remember, us just dropping elbows on the floor, and Mike mainly, and I did a frog splash on the floor, and we're in the hotel room, man. It was just going wild. You got, I don't want to use names because I don't want people to change their opinion on them. We got a very, very famous, to our arts, person doing moonsaults onto pieces of literature. I mean, it was insane. And one time I got up to go kick his ass, and he super kicked me right in the fucking jaw.
Oh.
I said, "You motherfucker." Oh, well, I sold it first. Then I said, "You motherfucker." Actually, during the night, we were causing so much hell. Zach Daniels went up and fell asleep in the bathtub because he didn't want to hear it anymore. And Big Time Mike dented the floor.
Oh.
Yes, he dented the floor. So that was a wild weekend. It was cool though. It was a lot of fun. I just think that was one of those times where we got to be immature and not have to worry about somebody else's rules. Because, and no disrespect to VTW, but at the time when we'd come down to VTW, we'd stay in the building, so we'd have to stay by some sort of code because, right. Tyler and his family works very hard for what they got, and they're very generous to host us all the time. So we got to keep some sort of guidelines. That time, we were in the freaking motel. There was no goddamn rules. We could do whatever we want, and we had a blast, man. We let loose.
Yeah. So I got to ask, since that year, obviously, we had WrestleCon, and then we had Best in the Yard 2. Which event do you think was better pulled off, I guess you could say, or that you guys had more fun, I guess. Another way you could put it.
That's tough because I've had fun every Best in the Yard. I've had fun at WrestleCon. That's tough. I think they hold a different meaning to me.
Right.
Best in the Yard 2 is always going to stand out a lot more than the others because I got to wrestle a brother and we got to make history. And when absolutely nobody wanted us to have that main event, absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
They were hating on us, and we stole the damn show, you know. And not to mention after that, the formation of the FTC. It just was family. That's a special day. That's one of the only matches that I've had that I can remember everything front to back, bell to bell, curtain to curtain. I can remember everything, and that one stands out highly. Now, do I think the experience itself, it was Best in the Yard 2, man? We had new people in it. That was when we started bringing Navon McDonald and Jordan Oliver into and Chase Bridges into things. And man, I don't know if I can say one was better, but I know they both had their high points. And, you know, Best in the Yard 2 is always going to have a standout just to me because of the FTC, well, and wrestling Drew, and
right.
It was awesome.
And the only reason I brought it up was Mike had said that he felt that WrestleCon was a little bit better put together show, I believe, because
when it comes to now, here's the thing: when it comes to the production wise, yes, I think you know, and when it comes to the show and how we did things, I think WrestleCon was probably put together just a tad bit better. And it's nothing against, you know, VTW or anything, but Best in the Yard 2, we found ourselves in that same time lapse where we're in between things and just wasting a bunch of time. There wasn't much of that at WrestleCon. We weren't losing any time at WrestleCon. We were getting the show done in timely fashion and having fun the whole time, you know?
Yeah. Like the point that you guys were trying to top, there was another show going on around the same time as Best in the Yard 2 as well.
Yeah. What was it? Damn. Oh, yeah. That took away a little bit, you know. The supercard thing was something that we should have ignored. I'm sorry, I just turned my camera off because the Brotha Man with the master plan is about to go pee. So, Tony, I'm going to invite you to talk for a second because I've been drinking. I got to piss like a racehorse.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I just had to get opinion on that. Oh, we got more questions. We'll get to those here in just a moment. So, yes, it does appear that Mike does drop an elbow everywhere as he goes, which is good to know. We'll keep going with Cam here when he's done in a second. Give him private time. And for any of you guys in the chat room who may not have seen, next week here on Tiger Talks Wrestling, next Thursday, will be a guy that we've seen Cameron Jackson face at Best in the Yard this year. Cage will be joining me. So, something to look forward to if you guys got a chance to next Thursday. As long as things don't change. All right. Got a few more things in here. If you guys got any questions, make sure you put them in the comments section. Any comments, questions, either one. We'll get to it. Yeah. Welcome to the chat room, Samael. Yes, Mr. Hello World. Who we're referring to. All right. So we got over UWE stuff. We'll get into Best in the Yard 2 a little bit more here in a moment. And definitely get on from there. It'd be nice to see you in there, J Joker. All right. Yeah. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to go back and watch any of the other shows I had, just had Everett Creed on last night. It was a long show, but it was an entertaining show. Amen. Everett, good to see you. Aaron, nice to see you joining us, bro.
Have no fear, Tony. I'm back.
All right, welcome back. I just giving a little update on things that are going to be going on the show. and what has happened recently. So we've got Aaron
All right.
Jones in the chat room now. So
What'd you
says
say?
hey. Aaron Jones is in the chat room now too. He says hey.
Well, that's cool. Awesome. All right.
All right. So as we were mentioning, Best in the Yard 2, we kind of talked about the FTC part. Any stories from that weekend that you want to delve that we may not have heard of?
I don't. I'm pretty sure you guys heard of them before. Where me, Mike, and that Best in the Yard 2, that hadn't happened at Best in the Yard 2. It was more so the Halloween Hangover series. Best in the Yard 2, we just up all night, just laughing and all that stuff with the Nevon McDonald stories. Those killed us. It was great. As far as Best in the Yard 2 goes, that's really all that was. At Best in the Yard 2 was cool. I got to just get to know people a little bit more, which was awesome. So that worked out nicely. And then, the Halloween Hangover films where everybody tried to stand off against the FTC. Everybody's, we go in the damn door and there's people holding us hostage. They got fucking sticks and shit pointed at us, and they're standing on pool tables, ready to fucking go to war. And me, Mike, and Drew had decided to get the hell out of there,
Wow. All right. All right. Quite interesting that they'd be doing that. Is there any match that you would say, or matches perhaps, that you would say that don't get talked about enough from Best in the Yard 1 and 2?
I could say this, and I know it's like a lot of people say that certain matches don't get talked about enough. Here's my thing. And that's always going to be a biased thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's always a biased topic. Because if you put the work in and your build is 5-star, people are going to talk about it regardless, even if the match sucks.
Right.
People are going to talk about it regardless. But if you didn't do anything to stand out, then people aren't going to talk about it as much. Or, a lot of people have this thing where they hate the FTC. They hate myself, Drew Hood, and Big Time Mike, because we try to do things to where we stand out more than people. I've always admittedly come on this camera or go onto any screen, and I've said to almost everybody that I purposely try to stand out. I don't try to be the best. I don't try to be the greatest. I don't try to be bigger than anyone else. I just try to stand out.
Right.
That's what I try to do. So when you're the talk of the town, that means you stood out.
Yeah.
That's how I know. With our fan base, you got to realize that you know what you're doing if you're getting a talk, getting a reaction. Now, with certain matches being not talked about enough, I don't know, because Best in the Yard is talked about from A to Z that whole first 2 weeks after it happens. Yes, now some things are talked about more than others, of course. But at the same time, you get in, you get out of it what you put in. So if you put in so much to where you want to be talked about, then you will get out a lot of it where you want to be, where you're going to be talked about. Other than that, there's a lot of people that go to Best in the Yard, little to no build, and kill themselves and get mad when nobody talks about the match. That's not my fault. You know what I mean? Right. That's not anybody's fault. It's just you didn't hook them before the match. So when they saw the match, they were oohing and ahhing over it. But at the same time, after the whole thing was done, it just fell to the wayside.
Right.
You get out what you put in. Now, do I think there's some people that are, some matches that definitely don't get the credit? Of course.
Yeah.
You know, from Best in the Yard 1, the Chico versus Diablo and the Trailer Park Brawl. I thought that was something new, and that was very different from the whole show because that was the only one that took place elsewhere. But at the same time, Dirty the Chico and Diablo also didn't put in as much as they really could have. You know what I mean? So that's why I didn't get that big of a talk afterwards.
Right.
Best in the R2, Ecstatic and Jordan Oliver. They killed each other, whipping out moves out of I want to say some fucked up shit there. They're whipping out moves from odd places. Was it dope? Of course. It was awesome. Don't get me wrong. Awesome. But for the build wise, when Ecstatic tried to put so much into it, Jordan didn't feel like putting as much back. And that's exactly now that's it just escaped. Now, a lot of people got mad at me for Best in the R2 because in the 2 months closing in, I didn't say anything to Drew Hood. But people neglect that for the whole calendar year before then, myself and Drew were going back and forth in person, meeting up here, doing shit there, doing this there, doing that there, which is why I think we got such a big response because although the wrestlers thought that I wasn't building the main event builds itself at that point because we literally for a year meeting up in random places and building in person.
Right.
That's what we did. And even Drew felt like I was nicking him off. And I purposely did that to piss him off. And the reason why I wanted to piss him off is because I knew that if he wasn't mad at me, we weren't going to have the match that I wanted to have or that we wanted to have, But if he was pissed off at me, I knew I was going to get a whole different Drew Hood that day. And I did. And it was something just great. Now, of course, when it got closer to it, I had to start responding so people didn't think that I was, actually just ignoring the guy because I was watching everything. But I had to make him had to make him hold out for it so I can get under his skin a little bit so he could actually be mad at me. And once I got him really mad at me, man, we did great stuff together. It was awesome. But as far as building the feud, I did more than my fair share because for that whole calendar year, we were meeting up in different places, costing each other things, challenges. It was just awesome. I think that's why people really dug it when it came up to it. And like I said, a lot of people didn't like the fact that the FTC got together at the end of that. But hey, I don't care. It was the most talked about thing, and the reason why it was the most talked about thing is because we put the work in for it to be, and that's just what it is.
I would say from that, I think that you guys caught everybody off guard with the FTC for me at the end of it. I don't think anybody's seen it coming, which is something that you don't really see happen all that often in backyard wrestling or wrestling in general, honestly, anymore.
Yeah, well, as far as the fans go, I don't think anybody saw it coming.
Yeah.
But as far as the fellow wrestlers, I think a lot of them knew that myself, Mike, and Drew were, tight knit and pretty close. So I think they were figuring something the second Mike came out with the ref shirt.
Right.
But as far as the fans, that's our reaction. That's who we wanted the pop from. We wanted the heat from the boys and the pop from the fans because we knew if we got the heat from the boys, then the fans' pop would turn into that heat as well. And that's exactly what happened. It worked out beautifully.
Now, off of the Best in the Yard too, you spent quite a bit of time, as you mentioned, in BTW. What were some of your highlights that you would say from that time in BTW?
Believe it or not, you want to know something funny? I wasn't here as much as people thought I was.
Look that way.
Nowhere near it. There was the Halloween Hangover filmings, and then there was the Rumble. Yeah, and there was the Rumble. That was that. I mean, yes, okay. During Halloween Hangover, we filmed pretty much all the way up to Christmas Chaos, and then I was also on Reunion. Damn. Okay. I guess I was here a while.
Right.
um. Yeah, no, those were all cool experiences. You know, some matches hit, some matches don't. I worked with Jamal Payne for the first time, and if I'm gonna be honest, at Halloween Hangover last year, not 2017 but 2016. Um, I, we both felt because we look at the plans and we saw the 6-man tag and we saw that Mike was feuding with Kevin and Drew was feuding with Zach and me and Jamal were just there. We are like, oh, well, and don't get me wrong, I love Mike and Drew, but I'm not going to be anybody's third wheel. You know what I mean? Especially in something like that, because this is the FTC, this is CJE, Big Time Mike Drew Hood. That is Zach Daniels, Kevin Shaw, and Jamal Payne. You can do something better than just throwing 2 black guys in to make it a freaking racial equality thing. That's how we took it, even though that's not how it was meant. We know they didn't that way, but we took it that way. And so we we talked to some people and they gave us the Halloween Hangover match. Now, I don't think either one of us was expecting what we got from each other in that match. It was awesome. That let me know that he's really got something special. And as far as charisma and attitude, and it's like now, it's times like now where he's starting to really make it show, and that's awesome. I'm just extremely happy for him. But that led into the 6-man tag, which is crazy and that's insane. Then there was the 3-on-1 against Dustin Reagan, also crazy, and we got chased off by a bunch of people. But guess what? Guess what group stuck around for a while, and none of them were ever seen in the same camera shot again. So they chased us off for no reason. They just got us more over. Thank you for the popularity, guys. And then there was Christmas Chaos with Falcon. That was fun too, man. That was fun. It was and the FCC pretty much killed Falcon. So that was fun, and I was very happy that somebody was able to, somebody was willing to put the FTC over like that. Dustin and Falcon were the main two. Very really willing to just put us over and not ask for anything in return, and not really care for what came in return, and that was just very awesome of them.
Yeah.
So it was that was a cool time, and like I said, VTW has always treated me like one of their own every time I've been here. Very much so, because they even get mad at me like I'm one of their own. So I guess it works out perfectly fine.
Right. Now, kind of going back in time a little bit, there was a time when you were part of UWE that you went down to VTW, and you actually were the YouTube champion for a brief spell.
Oh yeah, that was the Storm Calling.
Yes.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah. That was cool. That was cool. I remember personally being very iffy on it because I know how I would feel if somebody outside of my Fed was just given the title. So
right.
I was iffy on it. I kept asking, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" But the person that told me it was a go was like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And it's just a shame people couldn't see. Well, it's a shame we didn't have the match that we were supposed to have for him to win it back. We ended up having a different match, which was watered down at the end of it. But
yeah,
that wasn't anybody's fault. It's just his body had been through too much. He just couldn't take it. And I don't hold it against the man. He wrestled Mike, Dirty, and myself in the same weekend. So hey, I don't blame him.
Right.
He was just just beat down. We decided to go a different route, and I'm just very thankful that was something that was offered to me. Definitely something that I'll never forget.
And I think I was watching a match in KWA, I believe, over the weekend. The scene you actually took the YouTube title to there when you appeared there.
No, I never took the.
I know there was some show.
I never took the VTW. I never took any other Feds title to any other place, and the reason why is because I don't want to disrespect those. I don't want anybody to think that titles are interchangeable like that, because they're not. KWA, that was where I won the 5th CJE World Heavyweight Championship, and it was probably that title.
That could have been.
That one, whether that one or this one before it got the makeover, because this one before it got the makeover was just steel. There was no none of this on it. It was just pure steel. So, but yeah, no, I never took the anybody else's titles to a different place, because that would be disrespectful. Now, don't get me wrong. If it was planned and written for me to do so, I would, but I wouldn't just do it without asking to do so.
So I know they're quite a bit behind from what they've recorded.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
But what would you say of your time in BEW so far?
Check this out. I think my time in BEW was definitely good. Now, from the beginning to my 3/4 of the way, so I'm going to say from when I got there in that March, or was it April or May? I don't know.
Right.
Of 2016. Right? Was it? Damn, it was 2016. Ain't that some shit? All the way to, I'm going to say this past June.
Okay.
So it's March of 2016 to about June of 2017. I've been working with BW, and that was fun. We had a fun time. I had a blast. I grew a new family, man. I wish I could talk about some of the things I did, but I can't, and that's what makes me so mad.
Right.
And it made me mad. I'm not like, and this is just a serious thing. It made me bitter to the point where I realized that, hey, I got all this big stuff coming up in different places, but I know what happens on BEW. Now, had that stuff gone up when it was originally planned, then hey, I probably wouldn't be that mad, because it was originally planned to go up then. If it would have went up then, I would have lost 8,000 times already then. Yeah. But now some of this stuff's going to come up and I'm getting my ass kicked. So now that makes the talent that I'm beating elsewhere look bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, that's why towards the end of my BW stint, I gave Navon McDonald a lot of hell behind the scenes, because I'm like, man, I'm getting my ass kicked. I'm putting people over. And a lot of it had to do with the uploads, because I know what was coming next. Not everybody else knows what's getting uploaded next, but I know what's getting uploaded next. And I know exactly how I look. Like I said, had it been uploaded when it was originally planned, yeah, I don't know if I'd be that mad. But like now, it's a bitter pill to swallow, and I just got to shut up and take it now, because I can't tell him not to upload a show, and I can't tell him to take me off of it either, because I don't regret going there at all. I don't regret anything I did. I don't regret putting those people over. I just regret that it's going up at a time where it doesn't need to go, well, where it doesn't benefit me. And yes, I know that's selfish, but hey, you got to be a little selfish when you've got a big picture in mind, and the big picture is helping the people now, this crop now, not that crop a year ago. You know what I mean?
I understand. Off of that, and speaking of fish, so as to speak, Navon actually had a question for you that he asked me last night. What made you decide to use a fish as a weapon?
What made me decide to use a fish as a weapon is, remember I told you standing out, right?
Yep.
I've never seen anybody use a fish as a weapon besides Rolf from Ed, Ed and Eddie, and I'm a huge Rolf mark, and I couldn't help it. And Jordan Oliver was the first person to use it on. He was like, "Hell yeah, man, I'll take it," and he took it, and it was just freaking awesome. I've used it a few times since then, and trust me, the fish will make its debut in VTW at some point. Trust me.
All right. I know the last time we seen it in BEW was when he used it in the Rumble against Paul Peterson. So
Yeah, he actually got cut open. He's the only person to get cut open from the fish.
damn.
Like I said, my time in BEW wasn't necessarily bad. It was just with so many factors going on, it didn't make it any easier on all of us. We felt like there was a lot of times there in BEW where we wanted to do so much and we had the plans to do all this great stuff, but with the uploads being so far behind, we were thinking about where we'd be as far as solo characters in the future. I know I got some stuff coming up in BEW that I don't regret and that I'm very happy I got the chance to do. But when future stuff from VTW comes up, I'm gonna look like one of the biggest idiots on the planet, And don't get me wrong, I do a good enough job of that on my own. I don't need YouTube doing that for me,
So Samael asks, when do I get hit with the fish?
Anytime you want, brother. Samael's always gonna be he's always gonna have a special place in the CJE Fish Club. So he can and Samael is one of those people that I actually do enjoy watching as well. I just wish he'd stop fucking killing himself every time he wrestled.
Right. All right. Since we're talking about BEW, and Navon did actually send a couple other questions to me that he wanted me to ask you. I'll get to his questions here real quick before we move into the next topic. One thing he wants to know is he wants you to talk about the time that you and him went to Big Time Wrestling around this time last year.
Oh, did he just message you that now, or is that yesterday he messaged you?
Yesterday he messaged me.
Hey, we had a blast, bro. We had so much fun. Well, first off, let's talk about was it TA? Is that the guy? I forget who it was. Mr. TA or some shit like that. I don't know. But this guy, Navon was marking for this guy, bro. Marking for this guy. This old ass man couldn't even move. And Navon was marking out. And he was just like, yes, you get him, yes, yes. And the old ass man falls to the table. I thought the motherfucker died. I'm not gonna lie to you. Fucking, we start running over there to see what's going on. Navon's like, oh Lord, get up, you got him, And it was a fun time. Also, I realized that Navon hates Kevin Nash because Kevin Nash, walked out.
Uh-huh.
And I was, when Kevin Nash comes out, I love Kevin Nash, so I'm going like this. Like the people next to us are doing this, and we're all like getting down to the NWO music.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, boo, boo, I hate this jackass. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
We had a blast. And Navon did that for me for a Christmas present. For that, I am very, very thankful. Like I said, BEW wasn't necessarily bad. It was just the timing with things that didn't make things good for anybody at points. But Navon McDonald is a brother, and I've got nothing but good things to say. A great guy, and I was very thankful that he did that for me. It's for a Christmas present. That was complete awesomeness.
Right. He also wants to know what it was like for you to referee a match at ECPW and getting sandwiched in between two super heavyweights.
Oh boy! All right, so if you watch BEW, I believe they're caught up enough to this point to where I can use these names. ECPW, East Coast Professional Wrestling, is actually an independent promotion. they have their Hudson Valley branch where you can find Yankee, the difference maker, Mike Fresh, Joseph Anthony, a few different talents that you've seen in backyard wrestling on that branch. So we're sitting in the crowd watching. Meanwhile, Paul Peterson, yes, former Proving Ground champion, Paul Peterson is working security for the show. And Ragul from the Ministry of Destruction is working referee. He is doing so bad as referee that at one point, one of the wrestlers literally straight up just jacks him in the jaw mid-match. Like, and it was supposed to be a disqualification. So he gets up eventually and doesn't ring the bell. I'm like, what the fuck? So they were looking for a new ref. And Yankee goes up to the promoter. He goes, "Oh, my boy Cameron can ref." I'm like, wait. I was like, what? And mind you, I'm in my Adidas sweatpants. I got the purple stripes. I don't even got nothing white and black on. They just toss me the ref shirt. They say, "Wait in the ring," and here we go. So the next match happens, and I'm chilling. The two big guys come out, and in the middle of it, the manager comes to my ear and goes, "You're gonna have to take a bump." I said, "Okay, what bump?" Because I think I need to know. Yeah. She's like, "Sandwich." I was like, "Wait, what?" And before I could even say too much, the guy like drags me in front of him in the corner, and I'm getting fucking ran at by this other big guy. And in between both of them, it was just like, oof.
Damn.
Now, if there was ever a point where I've had an out of body experience, it was that one. Yeah. Because if it wasn't for that probably, I don't know, 475-pound man behind me and that 520-pound man in front of me, I felt like I was in between a rock and a hard place, literally, except for the hard place had a lot of flap.
Gotcha.
So that was insane. But you know what? It was my first time reffing an independent wrestling match, and it was a blast. I'm glad Yankee put me on that way.
Nice. And the last question Yvonne had for you is, will you ever face Novin?
No.
Okay. Any specific reason why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can necessarily say that I can face Novin, because Novin doesn't lose a lot, and I'm tired of getting my ass kicked.
Gotcha. That's a fair response to it. All right. Getting back on track to things you were doing. Talk about Best in the Yard 2. We got to move into Best in the Yard 3. Let's start with the build-up towards. What's that?
This is going to be the heater. This is going to be the heater. I got to put a disclaimer out here for right now. All right, check this out. For everybody that thinks that I wrestled Cage at Best in the Yard 3 because I didn't get the main event, you're full of shit. You are the most childish and ignorant motherfucker on the planet. Like, people really thought that I was butthurt over not getting the main event. Meanwhile, I was one of the first people that said a good buddy of mine, Zach Daniels, should get the main event because he's worked his ass off to get it. So people honestly thought that since I wasn't getting the main event, that I wanted to wrestle Cage or still. First off, now that's just one thing. Now, second off, anybody else in my shoes would have done the same exact thing. I don't know, and there's some things I can't say because of protecting names, and I would never put anybody on blast like that. Well, I would, but I'm not going to do it. I personally felt like. Actually, we'll talk about that after. Let's talk about the buildup, because I know I don't want to turn too many people away right away. Go ahead. So, what were you going to say about the buildup?
Yeah, just the buildup that we've seen leading into it. The videos, of course, we've seen a couple videos from you first without a response from Cage. And then once he did finally respond, he declined the match. I believe it was a couple times before he finally agreed to face you at Best of the Art.
Yeah, there's a background story to that which we're not going to go into.
Okay.
But it's no secret that Cage is a great talent, none at all, and he is a big name, if not the biggest name, in what we do in this little community here.
Yes.
So I figured Best in the Art 3, and he's always been somebody that was willing, and he felt left out. He felt like he was somebody that was willing to be a part of a Best in the Art.
Mm-hmm.
So when the option was there, I took advantage, just like anybody else. I feel like if anybody else in my predicament, if Cage, if there was a chance to face Cage, whether he challenged you or you challenge him, you take it,
Right.
And my biggest thing was the opponent that I originally wanted, I couldn't get, which was, it sucks. And I'll save that who it was for a later time. I couldn't get, and it was something I was like a little ticked off about, but that wasn't the reason why I faced Cage. Myself and Cage earlier at WrestleCon talked about working together at some point, and we figured what better place, especially for the positions that we were both at, what better place than Best in the Art. It wasn't to steal anybody's spotlight. On my end, it was mainly to spread spotlight, and people just couldn't see past that. People made it seem like it was a negative thing, and they would only talk the smack to me, not talk the smack to Cage, and that's what made me like really start to distance myself from some people. And it was I felt like I didn't deserve that heat, but I welcomed that heat. The reason why I welcome that heat is because whether you call me great or you call me fucking stupid, at least you're calling me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So any reaction is a good reaction. And I could have easily taken all that momentum and all that exposure and used it just for me and not shared a single fucking bit of it. But I have not once, and on record to anybody watching, not once gone somewhere and bragged about wrestling Cage and said and used me wrestling Cage as some sort of argument winner. No, I've never done that, and I never will. And the reason why is because it could have been anybody. It could have been anybody. And that goes for both ends. That goes for both me and Cage. Cage could have wrestled anybody. I could have wrestled anybody. It's the way that we went about it and the two names at the right time. That's just what it was.
Right.
And yes, okay. Yes, Cage is on the show. You're going to get an influx of marks. Yes, I understand. I completely understand. But at the same time, how about you just try to win those fans over? You know what I mean? It worked out for Drew Hood, didn't it? You know what I mean? Worked out for people like Novin. Yep. People were so salty on it that they put a block up and were. And the funny thing is, they would never say any of that stuff to my face. That's the effed up part. Like, I'm not a scary guy. Right. But hey, It is what it is. It happened. Am I proud of the match with Cage? Of course I'm proud of the match with Cage. Would I do it again in a heartbeat? Hell yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat. And this time around, I won't be so nice. I will actually take the exposure for myself because a lot of people didn't appreciate what I did for them the last time. So, hey.
Now, I will say, for the build-up wise of that, there was two parts that I really enjoyed myself personally. Was one, they actually having you taking over the KBW Wrestling channel. I thought that was very different and very unique, I guess is the word I'd put there. Enjoyed seeing that. And then the other one was actually the sit-down interview that you two had, moderated by Kevin Shaw.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's like I said, and it's another thing. We wanted to spread the love with this feud. Yes, it was Cameron Jackson versus Cage, but the story was Cameron Jackson was fighting on behalf of everybody here that didn't leave and is busting their ass against the one guy that can show up and be the talk of the town. That's what it was about. It was about what people were getting mad at me for. You know what I mean? It was like that's what it was about. It was about me standing up for the people that would never, ever, ever, well, not never, but never have been the talk with just their name.
Right.
You know what I mean? Against the one guy that is always the talk just when you mention his name. Yeah. That's what it was about. It was about me representing us versus him. That's what it was. So when we do things like me hacking into the KBW channel and inviting all the phone calls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I just wanted the spotlight for myself, would I have put their name and Twitter handle in the fucking video? You know what I mean? And then, you know, Kevin Shaw doing the moderation thing. We felt like if there was one person, one character that could try to keep us in guidelines. That's what it was about. It wasn't about Kevin's one of my best friends, so we're gonna have Kevin do it. No, it was about keep that one character that stands for something that neither one of us stand for. That one selfless character, because as you know, CJE has an ego bigger than this house, and Cage has an ego bigger than this world. So no, I'm just messing with you, but we do have incredible, huge egos. So if there was one character that's selfless enough to kind of keep us on the right track, it would have been the Keep It PG savior, the YouTube savior, the, you know, at that point, one of the biggest underdogs, you know, Kevin Shaw.
Right.
That's why he moderated the thing. It could have been anybody. You know what I mean? We were just trying to spread the love some. That's what we were trying to do. And that's where I can give a hat off to Cage. Now, that ends my rant for the feud. As far as the upsides of it, I think we worked very, very well together. We played off each other very nice. Mm-hmm. I think the build was awesome. It was personal enough, and it was also professional enough to where people had to sink their teeth in it. And it made, you know, it just made for a must-see thing. And it's not because I'm not saying that because I was in it. I'm saying that because that's how I truly felt about the whole build.
Right.
You know, that's just what. And do I think Best in the Yard 3 was the perfect place for it? Of course. And do I think it should have gone anywhere else on the card? No. I love exactly where we went. Personally, if I was to go somewhere else on the card, I would have wanted it to open the show. I personally felt that way. But obviously, that's not a big deal for me opening the show, but for a name like Cage opening the show, you don't want people, as you know, people react to watch and leave. So, but no, it was me wrestling Cage was in no ill will to anybody else, no spite to anybody else. It wasn't me saying, well, I'm going to do this, fuck you guys. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was something that I've never done before. There's not too many things that I've never done before when it comes to this little community, as to where, like, if there's somehow, some way, some chance at Best in the Yard 4, if there even is a Best in the Yard 4, if I am wrestling, if I am wrestling on that show, it's going to be something that was never before done on Best in the Yard.
Right.
I promise you. You know? If that's just how it is. And now, I think nowadays, though, I will say, you know, in closure to my rant, nowadays I think a lot of people understand my point of view on the Cage thing. I think a lot of people and I wasn't asking for, and I'm not asking for any apologies from anybody because we don't need that. I don't need that. I just wanted people to understand. I think people understand now, and I think it's a more cool and calm thing. But Cage, great worker. Awesome. Definitely as good as he says he is. And I'm just glad I held that motherfucker's foot because if he would have beat me, I probably would have retired.
There you go. But yeah, it was definitely a very good match after the build-up that was put into it. So I'm sure many people would love to see it again, and myself included, after the finish of that match, anyways.
Yeah.
But it served its purpose, in my opinion, to finish the way that it was that match. So.
I think the biggest selfish thing I could have done was to take the W. I think that would have been the most selfish thing that I could have done. Don't get me wrong, me and Cage had a little bit of personal heat for real going into that too. And we haven't really gotten to speak to each other much since then. I think we respect each other, but I don't know exactly how good of friends we are. I did talk about the man's 2-month-old daughter at the time, or 6-month-old daughter at the time. So, hey, but hey, I think it served its purpose. I think that's the best way to put it. Now, obviously, to a popular opinions, that's going to be a lot of people's favorite match on the show, and that's because Cage was in it. That's not because CJE was in it. That's fine.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I'm just happy that more people know who CJE is and know what VTW is, know who Victor Van Pelt is, know who Zach Daniels, Yankee, Drew Hood, Novin, Big Time Mike, Rick Rios. I'm glad more people know who we are because of that.
Right. Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with Mr. Awesome put in the comment section that he'd say you gave the KBW audience a chance to be exposed to outside content. For better or for worse, whether they stuck around or not, it is what it is.
Oh yeah, I appreciate Mr. Awesome's always a cool dude too. That's another thing. A lot of people realize that you can talk so much smack. You can say Cage has everything, but you got to realize for a person that stuck around so long and what we do, he's always gonna want to have something to hang on by. And I think for his fans, that was cool. And I think it was cool me trying to turn his fans against him and it actually working to an extent. They had something to be excited for the first time in a long, long time. And I can't regret any of that. I just can't. I felt like we made a lot of people's day just with that, which the initial warning where I snuck into the channel and all that stuff. So do I regret it? No. Is it one of my favorite matches I've ever had? Yes. And if anybody else sits there and tells you that they wouldn't have faced Cage, they're a goddamn lie.
All right. I believe that. Is there anything you want to touch on from Best in the Art 3? Was there any favorite match maybe or moment that happened during the show?
Okay, there's the obvious moment where everybody saw my cry face when unfortunately Mike retired. That was by far, and mind you, me nor Cage wanted to go on after Big Time Mike and Rick Rios.
Right.
The FTC stands for Follow That Crew. Big Time Mike is somebody that I never, ever, ever want to follow. Right. I don't want to go after Mike. And in his last match, I think, to me, in my mind, and this is no disrespect to Yankee or Zach Daniels, to my mind is, this is my brother going out. To me, no matter what happened on the show, that was the main event for me. And it's no disrespect to anybody. I'm just saying that it doesn't matter what goes on last. It's just the fact that Mike and how close we are and what we've shared with each other and how we've played off each other and improved together and all that good stuff. That was the main event to me. So when I see Mike go, you know, it brought back just a feeling of like the first time I met him. You know what I mean? It was just insane. It was, how do you sum all that up? Um, is that my favorite moment? I don't know if I could say it's my favorite moment because I saw my dude get bashed in the head with a chair and have to retire.
Right.
But I know it's gonna, that to me was the show stealer. It doesn't matter who wrestled who on that show. It doesn't matter if, I wouldn't care if The Rock wrestled fucking whoever the fuck. Okay, it's that was Mike's last match, and that stood out to me as the main event, the must see thing. And I don't know, that was the moment of the show. And it was a moment that myself, Mike, and Drew got to share because as the FTC, we talked a lot on the phone, but when we were together, you know, we're pretty tight knit and private. This was the first time it really got to live on camera of just how much we really do care and love for each other.
Right.
So that's why it was so special to us. And the fact that Mike wanted us out there and he literally retired, literally right in front of us, right at our feet. I couldn't even, that last chair shot, I couldn't stand there and look. I had to turn around and walk away because I was just like, oh my God, this is really happening. And then at the second ref said 10, I just dropped to my knees and I couldn't think to do anything but hug him at that point. Yeah. That was, to me, that was the show. And I have no problem, even with an oversized ego, saying that was the show.
Gotcha. Off of that, any stories from that weekend that you'd be willing to divulge?
There was a time, well,
one story, so.
We got one story that nobody's ever heard of and nobody will ever hear the full story of. It's how, you know, Kevin Shaw tried to choke me out in the hotel room after everybody left. Drew had to go back home, and every time it's just every time me and Kevin are together, I always fuck with him somehow. And this particular time, I just wouldn't stop. I just kept messing with him, and he was literally trying to choke me out. So I threatened to throw him through the wall, and this was the first time that we actually were really seriously pissed off at each other. A fight almost broke out in the fucking hotel room.
Oh, jeez.
But then, eventually it calmed down. He got in his bed. I got in my bed, and we just, let bygones be bygones. But there was, us just messing with Navon all night, calling him. Oh, boy. I'm pretty sure you've heard that one, too.
I have, yep.
That was just gold. We were calling him as Novin, Mm-hmm. And, or every time that it'd be silent in the middle of the night, everything would go out and all you hear is just either Novin sit up it was a blast. We had a blast. It was cool. It was just everything. It was cool to be there with Kevin, Drew, and Mike, my three best buds in the world. It was just awesome.
Now, I don't know where exactly you might have been if you were there when it happened, but I gotta get your take if you were there for this one story that I have heard a couple times of Navon and D-Lock the day after.
Yeah, I was there. I have this thing. Okay, if you've watched, was it VTW Fury, where Drew Hood went against Dirty DeChico? Mm-hmm. I have this thing where I do the attempt to save, but completely missed. Everett Creed was sitting in a chair. Uh-huh. And I thought Dirty DeChico was going to hit Drew Hood. So I was like, Drew, no. And I jumped and it bounced Everett out the chair. You can go back and watch that for reference. Now, I don't know if it was Fury or was it Fury? I don't know. But it was somewhere around that time.
Right.
Now, Drew Hood did the same thing, except for this time he went through the fucking table. But he saved somebody's ass. It was good. I mean, Navon and D-Lock started brawling out, and everybody started brawling out, and just like one big happy family. I mean, this is gonna get better than that.
It sounded like it was a pretty interesting uh, brawl that took place after all
Yeah,
started from D-Lock.
we were all sitting there just watching the show, and we hear this big bang on the fucking door. We're like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And we hear another one, so we think a real fight broke out in there. And there it is Dylan and Navon going back and forth. I'm like, what the fuck? You know? And
Right?
I thought it was real for a second. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. I have a feeling other people did as well, from what I've heard. Um, so moving on from Best in the Yard, we've kind of seen the ending days of your career in UWE from that. Um, what
Yeah.
was that like for you, that experience?
It was bittersweet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um I'm just glad it was to Rick Rios, I guess. You know, something I helped start. It's very hard to have left before it ended.
Right?
But at the same time, I think that it was probably a better decision for me to go. Uh, you know, with all the respect and love I have for those guys, I think everybody just kind of knows without me having to say how I feel
Yeah.
about the UWE. It was, to me, it was causing more stress, you know, than fun.
Right.
And I'm not taking away from it because it did a hell of a lot for me. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I just felt like at that point in time that it lost its touch. It lost what made it UWE, and I felt like I didn't feel like a part of the group anymore because it just felt that way. I lived in New Jersey. They were all living within 15 minutes of each other,
Yeah.
and I guess I just didn't know how to cope. I felt like sometimes I wasn't as accepted there.
Gotcha.
When it came to those closing moments, it sucked to where like sometimes I felt like I would drive 2.5 hours west, to Pennsylvania and go to Bryce's company and feel more accepted, or go up north to Proving Ground or BW or whatever it's called now and feel more accepted. But sometimes it just didn't feel the same. And then I don't know. I think that and trust me, I didn't move down here to get as far away from that as possible.
Right.
I didn't. But at the same time, I think just I was coming to the end of my rope with the UWE. It has nothing to do with the people. It was just the thing itself. Because here you have me, who's in very high demand,
Yeah.
from a fan standpoint, very high demand, and they don't have plans to keep me in high demand. So it's stressful. You like,
Yeah. Right.
I can go on and I could have been there and I could have easily done this, that, the third. And not to mention, I was upgrading to, from the trampoline to the ring to the, you know, just learning a little bit more. And not saying that, the trampoline for them was bad. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it's kind of like I've reached so much stress with it that it was just time to move on.
Yeah.
Now, does it suck that I'm not on the end game card? Of course, because I was. I mean, from the first episode of UWE, even before YouTube, I was there. But
Right.
all I can do is that's just a pill that I have to swallow. You know, that's just something that I have to, you know, be okay with.
So, Steve Prize has a little funny comment here that I have to mention because you might get a little chuckle out of it. Um, said he loved the Rios versus Jackson match, your last match there in UWE, because it was so good. And when Cam got covered in baby powder, I can truly say he was a reverse Oreo.
Yo, you guys want to know something funny about that?
How's that?
I damn near fucking died, like for real. Um, People don't realize like that was something that was really in my lungs. That was no work. I mean, it's funny. Don't get me wrong. What you said was funny, but I almost like really died. I was choking on the powder, and it wasn't baby powder; it was lime powder. So I was, uh, man, I wasn't feeling too good. I was feeling too hot. I was coughing that shit up for hours. I was really choking, and obviously, it wasn't intended to really kill me. We all know that. It was just, you know, something gone wrong, and it was, man, it was just a crazy couple of it was crazy few hours trying to feel right after that. I just didn't feel right at all. It was scary, very very scary.
I bet something like that would be. Um, moving away from UWE for a minute, Proving Ground, kind of yours and Yankees' baby. Where, what exactly made you guys decide to start Proving Grounds?
First off, it was Yankees' idea to begin with.
Okay.
But I kind of told because Navon was very skeptical about letting Yankee do this thing, you know. And I told him I was like, I'll help out with it, blah blah blah. And me and Yankee put our heads together and we came up with something for the first few episodes was great. Um, Now I will admit my schedule got into the way with being prepared to move, and my work schedule at that time was not very flexible. But I'm still very very happy for those guys up there. We did something that not a lot of people could do in the first shot, and that was put together a show that was watchable with names that people really didn't know. There's only a couple of names on there that people knew.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we we did something great, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
But Proving Ground itself was like our baby. You know what I mean? It was something that after being involved for so long and suggesting ideas, being a booker in the UWE for the first beginning of it, the good half of it. That's that. I'm so sorry. You might want to cut that out of there. Oh, you can't live.
Nope.
Whoops. No, I'm just messing. And then suggestions, a lot of creative suggestions for BW, and then giving creative suggestions here and there for characters that you see in a few different beds, like here in VTW and a few different places. I figured, let's get behind and try to put together a show. And I had a heavy hand in writing episodes 1 and 2, and then I was already down south by the end of that. And it sucked. Like, it really, really sucked because 1 and 2, I personally feel, are the best 2 episodes that there were for Proving Ground. But that's also, I also do have a massive ego, and I'll admit that. So after Showcase 1, it's really not CJE's ideas on there, which is a hard pill to swallow. It's fine. But fine, I still support them, and I want them to do as best they can. There's some things that I see, but I get afraid to say things because I don't want to be the guy 11 hours away talking shit. You know what I mean? I care. I want to make sure that they're doing good And it's very hard to convey that through a message because you can't read emotion through text. So,
Right.
Proving Ground's always going to have a special place in my heart too. Just is what it is. You know how it goes.
Right. Yeah. So, besides that, obviously we've seen you in several other companies, but mainly now you're in VTW. What would you say of your time so far since becoming a regular in VTW?
I've had a lot of fun here so far, man. I don't have anything I could complain about here. Not yet.
Not yet.
I'll find something over time. Trust me. Trust me, I'll find something. But
Yeah.
that's what talent does. That's exactly what talent is. That's what talent does. We complain. Hey. But no, it's been fun. I think it's only a matter of time before people get the CJE that they've really been wanting to see for a while. I know a lot of my fans know, and this is to you guys that will watch this, I guess, post stream here, because I know we've been like 2 hours. So, and I'm sorry for the time, for Christ's sakes. I was the biggest one talking about it. I'm not going to go that long, and look, here I am, 2 hours in. Um, but for my fans, I just thank you guys, because you guys call me on my bluff all the time. You guys call me out. You guys DM me and tell me, like, I know you're not doing your all. I know you're not being what you can be. And you're right. And I'm doing it purposely, just so I can get that reaction from you guys. But trust me, I'm gonna turn up the heat just a little bit, just like you guys loved the promo from the other night here on the CJE channel.
Yep.
You guys love that. I mean, that was a lot of vulgarity, though. I mean, I'll cut back some of the curse words, but I'll keep the emotion just for you guys. A lot of people like the promo on the extra channel too, the VTW extra channel. So uh, we got some good stuff planned. I look at it. I don't look at it as working for VTW. I look at it as working with VTW. Um, and I'm very, very easy to work with, as long as, you know, things have a light at the end of the tunnel. I'll do anything. I'll help out anybody. And usually it's my choice to do such things. So I'm just, very happy with the amount of talent that I get to see prosper on the regular basis here.
Right.
Guy like D'Lo Smith, who, you know, before nobody knew this man from a hole in the wall. The man, he can talk. The motherfucker can talk. I'll give him that. Now, I mean, what he's saying is 110% horse shit, but he can talk.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
he can.
Honestly, out of the three in the change, I'd say he's the best talker of the three. So.
Yeah. Oh, hands down. But then there's Jamal Payne, who he just has this presence about him. He has this presence, and he's just must see. I don't know what it is. Like, it's like, here's the thing. You look at a person like me, and I might not be the best all around wrestler, might not be the best all around talker, but I think might not be the best all around anything, but I think if you move everything and roll it up into one ball, I think I do a damn good job, but almost better than anybody else at excelling at all those things equally. And I think I'm best well-rounded superstar in our little community here. But I add a lot of mine through comic ways, comedic ways. Some mostly on purpose, mostly, and sometimes not. Jamal Payne, he's got the gift of meaning something completely serious and it being like comedy gold.
Yeah.
And I love it. I freaking love it. And he's doing damn great. He's just doing him. He's out there grinding, man. You can't be mad at him. Well, I mean, you can be, but I can't be mad at him. And I don't know. I dig it, man. I'm really happy he's getting a bit of a break here in VTW. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna go over a couple more topics. The first one, we've seen CJE exclusives quite a bit on your page. What originally brought up doing those in the first place?
Oh, because the UWE wasn't going to do it for me. They weren't going to let me do it on the show, so I decided to make my own channel and do it. That's the truth.
Gotcha.
And then, with the CJE exclusives, I realized that's how I got to feel out my audience. You know what I mean? What they liked from me, what they didn't like from me. And then when the CJE was going stale, I brought in the family members, which was, I think, still to this day, the biggest part in getting my name out there was the family members. That was the biggest standout thing that I've done. They weren't, and I guess I can pull down the curtain here and say I didn't look at them as alter egos, even though that's exactly what they are. I didn't look at them as alter egos. I looked at them as, just more characters on my CJE roster. And I think that's what made it more fun for me, because then, everybody that works in the CJE looks exactly like this. You know what I mean?
Right.
With the exception of Clunk. He has a mask. But other than that, I think that was the biggest thing. And I still think to this day, I haven't done much to top that, but I'm still working on ways to reinvent myself.
All right. I got a question on something else here, but I'm going to get to a couple questions here in the comment section real quick. Dr. Luigi wants to know what your thoughts are on Crossover Crisis.
Who asked that one?
Dr. Luigi.
Tell Dr. Luigi I said, and this is my God's honest opinion, Crossover Crisis, the show didn't have a chance. And the reason why I didn't have a chance is because the FTC stole the show in the opener, hands down. And that's exactly what we planned to do. And the reason why we planned to do that is because, well, that was probably going to be my last UWE appearance. You know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to have that and share it with a guy like Drew and, Dirty and Jamal Payne, which is awesome. But yeah, we didn't want the show to have a chance after we were done. That's just how we felt. They knew how I was feeling. They all knew. They all were in agreement that this is going to be my last UWE match that I wrestle in, which it was. That was the last match that I've physically wrestled in. This last match I filmed in that yard was Crossover Crisis. And, so it was going to be untoppable by the rest of the show.
Right. And Steve Price asked, where did Clunk get his mask?
Oh, here's the coolest thing. You want to hear this little story? This is a cool story. See, how come you guys want to ask stuff like this? Well, we can't go 3 hours. But here, check this out. Okay. So I'm at like a local flea market auction thing in Englishtown, New Jersey, or Freehold, New Jersey, but it's Englishtown auction. And there's this little wrestling like store in the corner. And they have a bunch of masks just hanging up on clotheslines going across that way and that way. And I was like, what the fuck? Awesome. And I saw this one mask and it caught my eye. I mean, now this mask is probably, I don't know whose mask it was. And I was just like, yeah, so who wore this mask? They're like, oh, we don't know who wear them. We just get them and we sell them. And they're like, Tommy comes and drops them off. Like, what? Tommy? Like, yeah, Tommy Dreamer. He drops them off. He donates them. I said, what? So the second I saw this mask, I bought it, and I just think this mask says Clunk more than anything else. I don't care how beat up it gets. This ear doesn't even stand up anymore. Look at it. It's folded down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I'm gonna keep it until it disintegrates because just the cool thing now. Like at first, it was cool because it was a mask that Tommy Dreamer donated to that place, but now it's cool because it's Clunk's mask, and
Right.
that's something I have to hold on to it. I might never ever put it on again. I have no clue, but at least
Yeah.
I have it here just for the memory. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So the next topic I wanted to get onto here, you're quite known for hosting a lot of backyard wrestling shows, starting with being part of the Backyard Wrestling Fix, including Backyard Politics, of course, Half and Half. What would you say would be differences or what's the word I'm looking for here? What was the experiences like doing those different shows, I guess?
Um. Okay. So doing the backyard wrestling fix, that was my first experience of getting to know people.
Right.
I think that was the first type of little talk show we had where I'd get guests that people didn't think I could fucking get. Like, I'd have Myron Reed on there a lot. He was actually a co-host to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were guys that aren't around anymore, like Chris Copeland, that were on the show. And then eventually Cage was on the show, and eventually AK and Big Time and Drew. That was my platform on trying to provide a platform for everybody else. Just to get to know these people, because I felt like at that point in time, we didn't. Not a lot of us had a huge fan base.
Right.
So I figured if I'm the one guy to be able to like bounce in and out of that kayfabe thing to help people out, I think, and this was just a stretch of a thought.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I think I can get more people to kind of relate to this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not to say, and I'm not saying the Backyard Wrestling Fix got people fans. I'm not saying that at all,
Right.
even though it did for a couple. But I'm not saying that per se. I'm saying that the difference between that show and this show is that show is from a wrestler hosted to wrestlers trying to bring about more spotlight on wrestlers. It was trying to get to know the person for me, and it was also trying to get a platform for the person to go off of just for the rest of the world, and it was awesome. Backyard Politics, that was our shoot show, man. We just said whatever was on our fucking minds.
Right.
That show got so much heat, and it was probably a safe idea that we didn't do any more of them. But yeah, people definitely didn't dig that. But it was fun while it lasted.
Right. And as I mentioned, from there you'd go to Half and Half with the Big Time Talk Show, and then you'd have the FTC Roundtable, and we'd occasionally see you kind of co-hosting with Everett Creed on the Creedcast as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, the Half and Half was exactly what it is. Half of the Backyard Wrestling Fix and half of the Big Time Talk Show. I think that was a good way for me and Mike to play off of each other and kind of see what was cool to do, what was not cool to do, see how much heat we can garner as a duo, and it worked phenomenally. The FTC Roundtable worked phenomenally because that was just the three of us, and people were gonna watch it because it was the three of us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when you do things live, like as you realize, you don't get a shit ton of viewers when these podcasts live. It's just always like a day after thing where people listen to them.
Right.
So that's why the FTC roundtables were so much see because you knew we were going to say something about somebody. You just knew it. And I don't think we ever really disappointed.
Now, off of that, with Mike and Drew now being retired, do you think we'll see you doing another show like that, a backyard wrestling fix of some sort or anything like that?
I tell you what, I've thought about it, and that's no lie. I have. Here's the thing: if I do like a backyard wrestling fix again, then I'm taking away from you, and that's not my goal. My goal is not to take away from people like you because you're what you're doing here is a great thing, man. You're giving. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know it's a little bit, I know it's inside of you. You got a little personal motive because you get to talk to us and stuff, and that's awesome. But you're also giving us an outlet that we can't fill within that, an outlet that we can't necessarily verge into on our little screen time. So I would,
Right.
if I do the backyard wrestling fix, that takes away from Tiger Talks Wrestling, and I'm not in the business of taking things away from people. I always try to give more than I take.
Well, I appreciate that.
No problem. Now, if I do a backyard wrestling fix, it'll probably be live on VTW if possible.
Gotcha. Um, so you kind of went over Mike's retirement. Gotta get your side of Drew Hood's retiring the way he did.
That sucked. That was one of the that was. I think the thing that hurt about it the most is that the day that he left, I was sitting here and he well, I was sitting outside the ring pretty much, and he took his stuff off and walked out, and I thought maybe he just didn't like the match. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells me he didn't speak to me for a week, and this is honest. He didn't speak to me for like a week, and he tells me he's going to do the stream, and just watch the stream. And I watched the stream, and I've never cried so much in my damn life.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Drew Hood deserved, and I'm not. This is nothing against Jamal Payne. I'm just saying I felt like Drew Hood deserved a more proper send off. I felt like there should have been a ceremony, or not a ceremony, but a segment or some talk time for him physically in the ring.
Right.
On the next episode. But apparently he didn't want that, and that just, I don't know. I felt like he sold himself short by retiring. But he's a brother, and I support his decision. And no matter what it is he may further do in life, I'll be there for him. That's all I can be. And out of our little 4-man clique, all that's left behind is myself and Kevin Shaw, and Kevin Shaw's the world champ. So I'd say we're doing all right still.
Yeah. So I guess you'd kind of say we see your reaction of Kevin Shaw winning the world title. But how good does that actually have to feel for you to see him as world champion right now in BTW?
Would you say how good does it feel?
Yeah.
Man,
or how does it make you feel?
I am so happy that at least I was not retired while it happened. Man, he's been working so hard, man. He's busting his ass day in, day out just for that, man. He finally got it. It's like you can't help but be happy. You just couldn't help but be happy. And, it's no secret, that I was, playing the role of the referee. And
Right.
after he grabbed the thing, that was a legitimate cry session that we had in the middle of the ring. I was very happy for him. I was very proud of him. And I just, I hope he does very good things with it. And that's just the extent of it, man. I'm very happy for him. He's somebody that works very, very hard, and he has a lot of love for what he does. I got nothing bad to say about that. I just want to see him do his thing. And if I have one word of advice for him, is don't be afraid to take risks. You already got the strap on you. If you lose it, they're just going to want you to get it back. So
just got a couple more. First, go into there. Steve Price asked, "What is your favorite wrestling mask from any pro wrestler?"
Mask. Kane.
I would assume that would be the original mask.
No, the original one was a little too heavy for me. It's like that felt. I'm gonna say like the one he wore on like 03, you know.
Yeah.
03, 04.
Gotcha. All right. He also says, "Don't want to stir drama, but are you okay with at least answering, is it true there is drama revolving around Everett Creed about being hard to work with or controversial creative control?"
And who is that from?
Also from Steve Price.
If he's asking for a true or false question, oh boy, now I can't believe I'm about to say this. I really must have been drinking a lot because I can't believe I'm actually about to get on here and semi-defend Everett Creed. Holy fuck. Okay, check this out. Is it true he can be very difficult, to work with and very argumentative over creative control and possessive over the show? Hell yes, that is true. But at the same time, when you are in charge, you are also the number one target. You are also always the bad guy. So when somebody comes up to you with an idea that can be potentially fucking horrible, if you say no, you are the bad guy. Right. Just like if somebody comes up to you with an idea that is great, if you say no, then you're definitely the bad guy. So like, he's also in a lose-lose spot. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. So like, he's automatically gonna be all those things. It doesn't help that sometimes he really is out of his own, accord, but sometimes he's just put in that predicament by other people too. Like he can't be wrong all the time, but like I've seen UWE wrestlers in the past go to him with something and he get completely obsessive, or not obsessive, but possessive over the UWE and threaten to take it away and no and this, that, the third. And those are times where he's being hard to work with and in wanting complete creative control. Like with the CJE, originally on the first episode of Lockdown, I wasn't ever really supposed to be CJE, but he told me no, I couldn't do something and this, that, the third. I said, "Oh, what, motherfucker?" And because he wanted to be possessive, I came up with a gimmick that is bigger than the UWE will ever be. 16. You know what I'm saying? And hey, it is what it is. But there's also times when people have gone up to him with ideas that were stupid. And I mean like stupid. And he said, no, that can't happen. And he was made out to be this huge asshole, which, he was doing what was right for the product. So, like I said, it's a lose-lose. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I guess it just depends on the way the wind's blowing.
Samuel said to get me onto the BYW fix, which doesn't make much sense. But I had a couple of fan questions that were sent in last night. One was, what are some of your favorite theme songs that you've created for Backyard Wrestlers?
Cody Rex's theme was awesome. There was by a band that is no longer beginning. I'm no longer together. Insanium, Burdens is the name of the song. I did the backup vocals on it, and it was fun. Uh, a lot of the themes now are just edits and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that I have thrown together, like Victor Van Pelt's theme, was fun. Um, the instrumental, that is, was fun. The words on it aren't mine, of course.
Yeah.
Uh, there was all the FTC themes, all of Big Time Mike's themes, fun. Uh, my theme song now, my current one, which isn't my edit of it isn't up on YouTube, but it's called "Walk On by Isaac Hayes. I love that song. Um,
Yeah.
I can really get down to Kevin's theme song too. I love the themes are purely made, like Oscar's theme and Buford's theme and Clunk's theme and the Winnipeg Warriors theme. Those are just classics. I think those are going to go down as backyard wrestling classics.
Yeah.
My original theme song, Stupid, Dope, Dumb, Fly, Fresh, awesome. I can name a lot. It's just, I, I don't have any particular favorites besides mine. And that is, because I'm the one that has to love it. I got to feel it. I got to be the one using it. So they should be my favorites.
Right. Any other favorite road stories that you have that you may not have mentioned yet?
I got a few, but I'm gonna share one. I don't want to share too many. I need something for the retirement speech. One time we're coming down to I don't know if Everett shared this with you guys yesterday. I didn't watch his because it was 3 hours long. Just like nobody's gonna watch mine because it's 3 hours long. Sorry. I'm just fucking with you, Tony.
Yeah.
I don't know if Everett shared this last night, but we're coming down to VTW, and Navon McDonald gets a cramp. Did he share this with you?
You did.
Damn. Well, there's no point in sharing that.
So you can still give your side of the story for it.
I believe was I driving? No, Rick was driving. I don't remember who was driving.
No, you said you were driving and Rick was.
Yeah, Rick was in the back seat. Yes.
Okay,
I was driving. And I'm trying to drive, and every time I try to put my arm down, there's Navon's fucking foot. I'm like, what the fuck? And here he is. Ow! Rick! Damn it! He's like going off about his cramp, and Yankee's afraid to touch feet, so of course he doesn't go anywhere fucking near it. That's one, and there's a few. There was the time that everybody came up for King of the Yard, and Drew Hood thought he saw shit on the side of the hotel tub. Me and Kevin Shaw stayed up all night throwing fucking chicken nuggets and French fries and whatever the fuck at Diablo from VTW while he was sleeping on the floor. I thought Jamal Payne, fell in the tub and left a fucking streak of hair, I remember that because I went downstairs to the room where the other guys were staying. I knocked and I was dying laughing. I was like, hey guys, it's Corey. And they're like, what? It's Corey, man. I think he fell down. They're like, oh, okay. I was like, but it's not that. He left a streak of hair down the tub. I was dying laughing, man. It's just little shit like that. But nothing insane. I mean, the road stories, they'll come out a different time. I know I've been very vague with them, but I'll go in a different time when I'm closer to that retirement stage, which I'm probably not too far from now.
All right. What was it like stepping into a ring for the first time?
It was awesome. It's like it's different, but I felt right at home. You know, the first time I stepped into a ring, I was lucky enough to receive some pro training. So, um, you know, at first you're like ooh ah and trying to figure out what what cool things you can do in it, but then you realize once you learn the basics to slow down and take your time, and things like that will come naturally when you're thinking of stuff with your opponent. But it was a cool experience. It was definitely an upgrade from the trampoline.
Right. Uh, I got a couple more fan questions, then I got my favorite portion of the show. So if you guys got more any last questions or comments, put them in the chat section. We'll get to them here. Not going to be on too much longer.
It's all good.
So I kind of skipped over one crossover event because I was going to get into it now. King of the Yard. What
Oh
was your
boy.
favorite match that you were in from there?
I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for AK-47 because by that point in that point in the day, we were so bent out of shape and so tired, and we knew we had to be on Long Island for a hotel too. That we didn't really get an actual match. We probably didn't get the AK versus Cameron Jackson that people would have wanted to see either. It was just something that we had to get out of the way because it was taking the time up. Um, I dug wrestling Yankee. I dug wrestling Joseph Anthony, and I dug wrestling Zach Cobalt. Dug wrestling Dustin Reagan as well. I can't complain. I don't have a favorite match. I can't complain, man. Do I think I deserve to win King of the Yard? Of course. But was I ready for the damn heat that it got me? Of course, no. You know, I also thought it was childish how people got mad over that too. But hey, what are you gonna do? All I can say is that I was very, very happy to have my peers surround the ring with smiles on their faces, whether they meant to have those smiles or whether they were fake smiles. It was cool to have them there. That's all I could say.
Yeah. Now, would you say you had any favorite match that you weren't involved in from King of the Yard watching?
No, no.
Okay.
I mean, I got a cousin of mine that was playing security for Drew Hood against Jordan Oliver, but you know, what do you say? But other than that, I'm just here drinking my drink.
Okay. That's pretty much that from King of the Yard. You shared a story from that weekend already. So, Matt Maverick has a question.
Oh boy.
Is my parking really that bad?
Oh, let me tell you something. I freaking love Matt Maverick, man.
Oh, happy birthday to him as well, by the way.
Yes, happy birthday. And I hope it's been a fun one. He is such an awesome freaking dude, a very humble individual as well. And his parking fucking sucks. He's the human Land Rover from Grover, bro. That's a story I can tell. We were all sitting here out in the living room, and I was asking everybody how they were and where they were from, and I get around to Matt Maverick, and I'm like, "Hey, Matt, where you from?" He puts his head down and he goes, "Grover." I couldn't help but freaking die, man. But he's awesome. He's one of my favorite people to actually watch compete now, and I can't wait to one day get another chance to wrestle him one-on-one again. That was fun. The first time, I think he didn't know what to expect because I was a little bit of an abrasive performer at the time because we had so much to do when I had to get to a hotel, and he was brand new. I think I was literally his first match in VTW. Like, I believe I was K9's first match in VTW, I think. So, with that being the case, I I got nothing bad to say. I love Matt Maverick, man, and I hope he's having a very happy birthday. He's an awesome guy.
Steve Price says, any funny stories with Victor Van Pelt since the story at Reunion Rumble?
Victor Van Pelt cracks me up. He is somebody. He's another one. He's like my little brother. And me and him together is a bunch of laughing and shit talking. It's fucking great. I'm trying to think of one in particular. There's a couple, but here's one at Reunion. Him and I pretty much had this dark match with a goddamn stuffed animal. Did he tell you about that?
I don't recall if he did or not.
I don't know what it was. I don't remember exactly what it was. Was it a fucking doll or a stuffed animal? It was one or the other. And we got our asses kicked by this fucking thing, man. And we do this thing where he has this Ched Nesterton character and Clunk, and those two match well. Man, I don't know if they're necessarily funny stories. They're just sentimental to me. I can't help it.
Somebody else says favorite KWA matches.
Victor Van Pelt. And I only had one actual KWA match, I think. One or two. Actually, I mean, in that yard though, I've had a few. I never wrestled at the time the gas chamber 1-on-1. Never got the chance to. We got to change that one day. I was there for a lot of cool ones too. I guess one of my favorite matches I had in that yard was against Ryan Jacobs too. That was awesome. That was my first match there. Well, no, I wrestled Charlie Tiger there as well, but it was for an NGW show. But those are the only ones that really stand out. I mean, I did a triple threat with Stryker and Phoenix, Casey James. But I think the ones that stand out were Victor, the one with Ryan Jacobs, and one with Charlie Tiger. The three that stand out.
Somebody else says, fuck yeah, we do have to have that match sometime. But since you guys mentioning them guys, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the match that you had in DBW earlier this year with Navon McDonald.
Yeah, the last man standing match. It was fun. It was fun. One of my favorites to watch from DBW is RJ Carnage. I don't know if people like him or not there. I don't care. I mean, I've seen him when he didn't really know how to piece moves together, and now I see him where he does know how to piece moves together. And I don't know, he's a cool kid. Now, the drama going on surrounding some of the things with some of the family members of his is absolutely none of my business, and I won't talk about that on here. I just hope that she gets resolved fast before I come back down there, because I know if somebody says some racist shit to me down there, I'll make sure they get fucked up 6 ways to fucking Sunday. And there won't be nothing to do about it. I'll stick a plunger in their ass and won't even think twice before never mind. I ain't gonna say that. But you know where I was going with it.
I understand where you're heading with that, yes. Steve Price says, besides the obvious choice of the Black Toad Splash, what is your favorite special move out of your own moveset?
Sidewalk slam, percolator.
That's one of my favorites.
The percolator is a deadly fucking move, man. I wouldn't want to take that fucking. That shit hurts. You getting dropped on the top of your goddamn head.
Sure. All right. So one of the last chances for you guys to get those questions in. I got my favorite part, and then future and pro aspirations will be the last part. Otherwise, but we got a few minutes. Elimination chamber match. I'm throwing you in there. Tell me who the 5 backyard wrestlers are that you're going to be facing in this match.
You can't do this to me.
Oh, yes, I can.
This is tough.
Current or retired, I don't care.
This is fucking tough. Oh boy. This is a tough one for me. No, all right. Here we go. See, but then I'm gonna feel bad if I don't like. Oh man.
Now you know how really people felt when you did the Money in the Bank match.
Yeah, but the difference with the Money in the Bank match is that the Money in the Bank thing is, damn. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, well, we're gonna do it this way. Who are the 5 people I want in there with me? Oscar, Buford, Clunk, Uncle Funk, and Boom Quisha.
Okay. And then out of those 5, who are you last eliminating to win the match?
Clunk.
So it'll give you the opportunity to go on to main event, a show. I just put best of the yard because it's your guys' WrestleMania pretty much. Who would you be facing for what title? Doesn't have to be current champion either.
Who would I be facing for the world title? Oh, that's easy. That's easy. I can't believe you even said that. I can't believe you said that. I would be facing the one and only. Ah, man, that's tough. I don't know, man. I've had my fix of matches that I guess at this point I'll just wrestle myself. No, that's really egotistical. I didn't even mean for it to be. I just don't want to, leave anybody out. That's why I didn't give anybody's real name. Let's see, who haven't I gotten to face or didn't get to go over against? I've never beaten Zach Daniels. That'd be good.
There you go. I think that'd be nice to see you and Zach again at some point. I'd be down for it anyway. I'm sure a lot of people would like to see it. Be nice to see where he goes from here. So Steve Price wants to know what the backstory of the percolator is.
The percolator? It was just, I needed another move. Everybody started to kick out of the Afro Shock, and the Black Toad Splash was a move I didn't want people to kick out of. So I wanted a move that I can do where people wouldn't just easy kick out, or I can end matches with as well. It is very hard to put yourself across as having 3 finisher moves because I have the Black Toad, the Percolator, and the Afro Shock. But the cool thing about having those 3 moves is that they're all different,
Right.
The Black Toad Splash is, that's the move. That's the theatrics and the after party at the Marriott and the big drop and the bang and the 1, 2, 3. The Afro Shock is a move I found that on the indie scene. A guy by the name of Tommy Tresnick does the bus driver, and that's what that move is. Then there's the Percolator, which it's my version of an Emerald Fusion.
Yeah.
And the reason why I do it that way, do it the way I do it is because I feel like it's unbelievable if I'm hoisting somebody all the way up here and turning them over and sitting down. So I do it, hook the arm around, and it's pretty much an assisted lifting DDT, except for I have them in my hands, you know.
Okay. Last chance for questions or comments in there as I'm getting into my last one pretty much here. What does the future look like for Cameron Jackson, would you say, in the near future?
Well, the near future, man, and this is the honesty of it, man. I really have been thinking about this retirement thing because what is there left for me to do? Everybody's like win the VCW World Heavyweight Championship, but my point on that is I've held 5 World Championships out of different feds too. It's not even like they're all in one place. So I've personally have done something that probably nobody else will ever do. You know what I mean? I don't have much more to prove. I'm trying to have as much fun, and I'm trying to find the right time to go so I can be ushered out. But I do feel like the second all 3 members of the FTC are officially retired, that we lose a big piece of this. And I don't want that to happen. I want people to carry on what's left behind. Don't know when I'll retire. I do know that retirement is definitely in the future, though.
Gotcha. Pro aspirations?
Of course. You think I'm gonna fucking retire and fucking sit on my ass for the rest of my life? Fuck no.
I hope not. I had to go there. That's one of the last questions I always ask everybody is if they've got pro aspirations, do they look down in the future and see themselves in the indies and then possibly go into Ring of Honor, New Japan, WWE, what exactly the pro aspirations are?
I want to go as far as I can. I mean, I think everybody's goal is WWE, or most people's is WWE. It's definitely mine. Grew up on WWE, and you can't tell me that it still isn't the best wrestling company in the world. And the reason why I say that is because, one, it's my opinion, and 2, it's just the most well-known wrestling thing in the world.
Right.
That's just, hey, I would love. I don't think there's not too many people. There are some, apparently. There are definitely some, but not too many people would say no to a WWE contract.
Yeah, true. Steve Price asks, besides pro wrestling, any other passionate career choices?
See, now we're going too damn far personal. This is the 3-hour mark.
Hey, we're about done, so.
Yeah, there was a few things I studied for in college that I got to dabble around with, and we'll see exactly how I get to follow through with them. Not going to go too much into detail because we're running long here.
Right.
But I thank a lot of people for sticking through this whole stream, because this is a long ass stream. And it's my fault. It's not even Tony's fault. It's my fault.
All right. So, well, thank you. I wasn't expecting to see him in here. Drew Hood says, great show.
What the fuck?
Right?
How come he didn't return my calls?
Good question. Mr. Awesome says, CJE Enterprise is coming soon with office workers such as Oscar.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
And of course, Steve Price says, Drew, holy hamburger, how you been? And Casey James says, my God, it's a ghost.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, Tony, take us out, man, because we've been on this motherfucker for 3 hours, and I'm gonna catch all types of hell from it from the boys in the back at VTW now. You're like, oh, you couldn't just leave the spotlight for anybody else. That's what they're gonna say.
They'll get on here too. Don't worry. Several of them have. One last final question from me. You in Cage 2, do you think there's a possibility of it ever happening?
I tell you what, if it does happen, it will be in the main event of something, and it will be for a lot more than just bragging rights. I'll tell you that right now.
All right, fair enough.
Don't cross it out. Me and Cage definitely work a lot better together when we're mad at each other. So if he, I'll be watching your show with him. That's the next one you have, right? It's with him.
I'm not sure if that'll be the next one or not, but next Thursday he is on. Yes.
Yeah, I'll make sure I find something better to do that night. Because he's about as boring as two pieces of fucking shit flying out of an anus. So, did I say that out loud?
You did.
Oh my God.
It is what it is.
Look at that. Cage looking at me. Little girls looking at their mothers, brother.
You forget it. All right. So, any final words or comments besides the obvious?
16.
All right. With that, I say thank you once again, Cam, for being on here. I really appreciate it.
Hey, listen, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Maybe we can do one where I shut up a little bit next time and we actually chop it down to like an hour and a half. But that's for the future. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out, yes. Again, not sure when exactly the next episode will be. There's talks of possibly 2 other people coming on maybe next Tuesday, but we'll see what happens with that. But definitely next Thursday, Cage will be on Tiger Talks Wrestling. So unless he has anything changed between now and then. What's that?
All right, well, look, listen, everybody, thanks for watching. God bless. This has been an episode of Tony Talks Wrestling. And to leave you on a note, I say, D-Lo, you son of a bitch. 16. Have a good night. Till next time, Brother Cam, out.
And again, thank you guys for watching. It's been Tiger Talks Wrestling. We'll see you next time.
60.
60.